but
Well,
just
while we're
720p.
waiting, what does
Yes.
everyone else do with their stack decks?
Sell. Must sell.
I use them. I like using them.
Oh, I mean, a lot of the stuff I farm though, it's like I like have like 2,000 of them a day. So if like if I
you
don't
get like
sell them,
arthritis.
well, A, arthritis. B, I could spend that time farming. And C, if I open 2,000 I get nothing, bro.
That would feel real bad.
Yeah. So.
The thing is, like 2,000 is a bit much. I get maybe like 600 in a day. So for me, at the end of the day, it's like kind of fun to just like click on through them, and then yeah. I mean, usually it's like I bear even if I don't get like anything big, which I haven't yet gotten anything big this league. It pays back like 70% of the cost from just like
that. That sounds like you're hurting your hands and wasting 40 minutes of your time to lose 30% of your money. That's what you just described to me.
But I gain fun for myself and for chat, right? Because everyone's like, "Oh, is he gonna get anything?"
Yeah.
And if you don't get anything, it's even better for chat because it's like Pepe left, fucking,
I mean, the thing I like doing least in this game is like selling items, especially items that are heavily flipped, because you get like the divine card and you like put it up for like the listed price. It's like because of all the bots. It's like, oh, okay, man, that's like the worst experience. So I need to avoid that.
I have a standing trader who just takes a 30% cut on every single thing I do.
True.
And so I lose 30% of my money all of the time, but I don't sell anything anymore. Yeah, I'm making less money. I am. But like, I don't have to do the trading bit, and I'd worth.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually because I was playing with in like a quote unquote duo with Firegrass this league, and like he was doing a lot of the trading because he likes doing that, and I actually got bored of not doing any trading. So I think it's good to have some downtime. We just sit in your hideout.
Downtime, exactly.
Yeah, it's like chill out. It's like, okay, sell some contracts and stuff.
Nah, not for me. I'll just go. I also don't make nearly as much money as you do, but
it's just all about the fun at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I like the economy aspect of things, as long as it's not like excessive. It's like it's fine. Like selling and buying, I don't know. I feel like that's part of a trade league for me, and fun. Take me back down to
some stuff. It's the little shit that I don't want to sell or buy. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to buy 2,000 scarabs or something.
Sure, I don't sell maps and stuff. I like unless I bulk like a singular map, which actually never mind. I do sell maps. I sell pretty much everything, man.
Maps.
I sell like literally everything, to be honest. Now that I think about it, like even like rusted scarabs that I don't use and shit.
You just go to the bulk and sell the entire tab thing on TFT, right? Just
I don't even do that. I just individually sell because I'm like
I'll do TFT sales. That's fine. Just take everything from this tab, please, all at once. Thanks for money.
Some of the stuff though is like ridiculously overpriced right now. I won't spoil too much, but like the strategy I'm doing, I was doing Legion for the longest time, and I was like, man, these are like 5-minute maps, man. This sucks. And it's like looting like heist, basically. The entire map is just loot. It's like basically NEM3, right? So I was like coming up with another strat, and then I realized like for example, Remnants of Corruption, bro, that shit is like 3C each.
Yeah.
Right? And you can get a compass which puts the remnants on almost every essence. It's like it's just like, and then it's duplicated by the shrieking thing. It's like you get like 6C per essence you click. It's like on top of the other essences. So it's like I think like stuff like that. Like there's definitely a lot of opportunities for some pretty spicy stuff right now. I'll just say that much.
I just like I mean, this is probably podcast material, so if we want to talk about like strats and stuff like that, I don't know if that's something that we might want to.
I mean, we're still waiting to start. Right? We're just a couple guys talking about some strats, dude.
What else? Look, I don't have anything else to talk about. I'm just obsessed right now.
How's the weather outside?
I just love the altars. I like the not really the altars, but like the spawn chance of mechanics being as high as it is. Like if you block everything you don't want, which is pretty much everything but the mechanic you're running, and like one more, you get
yeah.
you get what you want. Like
You
every
get like
single map.
75-80% chance to spawn. You're like, oh, 1 out of 5 maps doesn't spawn it.
But even then, like on that map, you'll spawn the other mechanic that you don't block.
Yeah.
Because like the tree has enough room to basically specialize on 2 things, I think, for the most part. Unless you're taking like the small things like strongbox or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem like it's like kind of like a 2 mechanic kind of thing these days.
Yeah. You don't want too much on your plate anyways, right?
Yeah, I think like I was talking to like some other people about this as well. Like some people like have trees where they like kind of like go crazy with it. They're like, oh, I can get all this free stuff. I'll have expedition. I'll have legion. I'll have harvest. And I was like, I'm not really sure that's actually correct because the Exarch altars are like so overwhelmingly good. You'd rather just like hard specialize in one thing and then get more altars and more of that per hour. If you know what I mean.
For sure.
I tried grand design pack size.
Oh yeah.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah,
I think
it
every
sucks.
grand design tree is trash. I ran it for a whole day. I think grand design is bullshit.
Grand
Mm.
design is even worse. Yeah. I personally, I'm like very much a not enjoyer of taking away either the notables or the minor passives.
Yeah.
It's like you remember like last league, like it was really obvious when I was like farming either goblins or farming divines. So I did grand design divines for like 2 days, and it was trash. Like I was dropping like
Yeah.
no divines. So it's like okay, well this is obviously like I'm getting to the point where I hit diminishing returns on pack size, and my quantity is just holding me back. Right?
And
It's like
you get baited because you look around and you're like, a bunch of people are running grand design trees, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I see it. I got 48% pack size. Yeah, that'd be great. You got nothing. Just 48% on nothing.
Yeah,
it's like
what it felt like. But on the other hand, Wandering Path is there's a lot more merit to it, in my opinion, just because of how good the top hat is. But even then, still, it's like interacting with mechanics without the notables is like kind of miserable.
Yeah.
So,
I can put breach in every map because of all the 4%ers, but it's a shit breach, and I've got to go to sleep and have a nap while it opens.
There's ups and downs though.
Yeah, I looked at your strat, Tuna, the growing hordes one, and I was like, oh, that's really smart. Maybe I'll try it out.
It's
then I looked
so
at the scarab prices, and I was like, Doc, leave. They're like for the rest of the ones, it's like 0.6 C chaos already for them. So I was like,
no, that's
it's like,
what do you mean? That's good.
It's like, what do you mean?
The pack size. That's
but like versus.
worth.
I mean, I was weighing it up whether it's better than Stream of Consciousness for like the strat I'm doing. I was like, I'm not sure if it is. But
yeah, I could see that. But like, it's about like getting it to synergize with mechanics that scale with that pack size, right?
Yeah,
So like,
I'm doing Essence Heist. It's not.
Yeah, no, like that. Yeah. So it's essentially like a breach expedition, fucking harvest. Yeah. Like so there you get like literal multiplicative increases in your gains because of pack size.
Yeah, that's very.
But also on top of that, it's fucking fun, dude. That's why I'm doing it, because it's so much fun. You just put your map in, you have 80% pack size, you get a shitload of XP. Like there's more altars, like because you get more altars the more pack size you have, right? It's like it's so good. I love it.
It's actually interesting though that keystone, man. It's like actually scales like it's not exponential, but it almost feels like that, because like like the more altars you get, the better it is, and like the tail end of the map is the best, and if you can increase the tail end more, it like makes it so much more rewards. But yeah, that keystone is crazy. It's for sure.
I love it. It's so much fun. I'm glad I was able to put out a video for it, because I think a lot of people came and they're like, dude, it's actually so much fun. It's like actually so much fun. And
I got one of those divine altars today. It was like the second last altar in the back half of Burial Chambers. I got like 6 divines still. But right at the end.
That's pretty good.
Imagine where
it's happy, but...
Yeah, that's why I switched off the blue boy, because the red boy is just like everything's better, and on top of that, there's even a bigger chase. Like you think divines is big, wait until you get a mage blood card from the jewelry.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the best I've gotten is like the like I got the Cortex card off him. I got the Asenath card, the one you double corrupt Asenath, like anything else though good yet, but maybe the Fiend, dude. It's common.
Yeah, the fee. Like I got a ton of the Astral Projector card, so I'm like probably on my
I only got,
7th or 8th of those.
really, I only got one
Yeah.
man of that
Yeah.
shit. That's like it's like 40C though, right? That's nice.
Have you checked your filter? Like, make sure you update that shit and stuff. It's like 70, bro. Like it's 70 or 80. The card.
I thought I got one early in the league. Maybe it never synced me dirty, dude. I gotta check the cards.
No, never think should have it because for me it drops his T1 rarity.
Okay, maybe I just don't get lucky.
You gotta make your own filters.
Yeah,
I modify heavily.
Just use like never sync tiering because like otherwise you're like, yeah. I modified mine off of like never sync tiering because imagine like a unique goes up in price, then never syncs automatically updates that from PoE Ninja data, right? That's the good shit.
I didn't mean to confuse you. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So I really was enjoying the conversation. You did a great job keeping the conversation alive while I was doing the setup. But then when I was done doing the setup, I decided I was done. I didn't mean to interrupt. We're still doing an intro real quick, but I'll keep that beginning part in. Just one last idea, because I gave up actually setting it up in a way that I reach 30 FPS because for some reason my stream is just like pooping it hard. But I have one last idea that I wanted to try before I give up and we just stream with 24 FPS, because most people, let's be honest, most people watch the podcast to listen and to game next to it, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem if there is frames dropping. But just one last attempt at getting a sort of tolerable result here.
Tolerable.
Yeah. Toblerone result.
Yeah, Toblerone is nice.
It's good shit.
Dude.
Do you know
like
that
right.
in the other parts of the world? I guess in Australia. Both of you are in Australia.
I think the best chocolate bar is Kit Kat. That's the best one.
Kit Kat is alright. Nah, it's like out of the trash chocolate, it's gotta be Ritter Sport. You know that one?
What the
You don't like that?
What is that?
No, that's the one I like. Out of the like trash chocolate, you know.
Because
then we can go talk about good chocolate, and then I'll be busting out the Italian words and stuff. So
we don't have any of that good stuff here.
My trash chocolate is Chomps.
Oh, I hate those. They're like goo. This like bed.
They're full of like something that's supposed to be caramel, but definitely isn't.
It's like tree sap. That's like.
Yeah,
tree sap.
Actually,
they're my favorite trash chocolate. It's Chomps and Curly Wellies.
Oh, they get stuck in your teeth, man. I don't like the gooey stuff. So.
Curly, is that chocolate as well?
Yeah, it's like it's literally just caramel coated with chocolate.
Oh,
I think I just
like
bricked it entirely.
String pattern.
Oh no!
I can't get my camera back to work. Wait, I'll unplug it and unplug it.
In Italy, we have this thing called gianduja, which is like it's basically like I think people like Nutella is like a type of gianduja, but it was like invented in Bologna. It's like basically like hazelnut praline, I guess is what you call it. It's like little pyramid triangles, and they're the best thing ever. Like they just put it in your mouth and it's like it melts. It's the best chocolate ever.
Is it like Ferrero Rocher?
Yes, that one's my favorite real chocolate. Like good one. Ferrero Rocher's so good.
Is it good though? Tuna's about to give us the truth bomb and say it's trash.
Ferrero Rocher is like considered like trash. Where it's
oh no.
But it tastes good. But yeah, like people like don't rate Nutella and stuff in Italy, and that's like Ferrero stuff, right? It's like palm oil, but it tastes good. So I mean, that's the only thing that matters at the end of the day. But there's other like chocolates here which is just amazing, which you can also get at the supermarket, which top that, in my opinion.
All right, we fixed it, and now I'm actually going to start the podcast before I brick it again. This seems to be working.
Nice.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Fated Connections episode 95. This is where we officially start the podcast. You've already been listening on a little bit of discussion here and there about some Atlas passes and all that stuff. And we're going to go right into it with all the beautiful discoveries of the first week of the league. But first, we want to introduce our guests and give them a chance to say hi. Welcome, Tuna. How have you been?
Yo, I've been really well, thank you.
That's quick and good. What's good, Grimro?
Yo, I've been really good. Thank you. Hello.
I didn't really know if I should have kept going, but I mean,
You can feel free to keep going. Just transition right
No,
into
it's
the
great.
league. What did you start with the league? Like, which build did you go for with Forbidden Sanctum? Obviously, we're all very hyped to talk about the content, so let's go straight into it without further ado.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first. I started Artillery Ballista with Lightning Arrow, and it was pretty fun. It was nice and zoomy, which is a good time. And surprisingly, for once in my life, I had single target damage. Yes.
Yeah,
Alright,
How did
there we
that
go.
feel?
How did it feel? It felt amazing, man. I could do my own Shaper, and I could do the Sanctum. It was good times. The map bosses actually died quick. Mm.
It's a far
For
shot from
context-
Corrupting Fever.
yeah. For context, Grim has played Corrupting Fever for the last
2
4
years.
leagues. Okay, 2 years,
Yeah, it was a long time, but yeah.
3 generations.
Yeah.
What about you, Tino?
I've been playing BV. I played BV. I like started Poison BV, and it's good. It's just Plague Bearer and Profane Blooms. 50% Profane Bloom is insane. It feels very
50?
good.
Is it
Yeah,
50 now?
they changed it to 50. Yeah, so that's pretty nice.
That's
Uh,
nuts.
Yeah, it's really good. So I mean, like as a map clearer, it was like fantastic. Kind of
Yeah.
came to the rude awakening of Sanctum. So the Sanctum incident was like pretty bad because it's like you've seen some of the rooms in there. It's not great being melee range, but
Yeah.
it made up for it with how good it is at maps. So it just like blasted through maps, and it's been really really nice. I would if I had to pick anything else, I wouldn't change. I would have still played this build.
Mm.
Wait, how is it so bad for Sanctum? Because you can stand around the corner, right? And just
Well, you're in melee range and you're a poison build. So
you
just
have
in
to be in melee
general-
range. That's what I mean. Can you not just like be around the corner and spark into the room or something like that?
No, I
No,
played
like Blade
BP.
Vortex.
Yeah.
Oh, Blade Vortex. I'm sorry. I'm looking at your footage of the reroll. Then I guess.
Spark, I
Right.
wish. Yeah.
Yeah, Blade Vortex. No, right.
Spark
Blade
is
Vortex.
amazing.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm feeling your melee pain right now as well. I'm doing the Blade Flurry, but only with the
okay.
real like toothing pain of melee because I don't have the spell level scaling, and I actually need accuracy
Right.
and all the good stuff that you need as a melee build.
The good stuff.
But yeah, before we talk about that, let's move on to greener pastures. Balor, you started as Venom Gyre, but you've already rerolled. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Venom Guy was actually amazing. It was very, very good. There were quite a few things wrong with every build guide I could find on it that I had to work out myself. Like, for instance, don't take point blank. It's actually bad. It lowers your damage. And a bunch of other stuff. But it is really, 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 really bad at Sanctum.
Oh.
And unfortunately, I absolutely love Sanctum. We might get into it later, but I think it might be one of the best league mechanics that we've ever had. I love it.
Nice.
I love it. And I want to be in there, which meant I had to re-roll much earlier than I would have liked to. Because in every other aspect, the build went really, really well. But it had to go. I had to make something that could do the Sanctum, even though I'm a Pega idiot, and could 100% complete it every time, no matter what the downfalls were. And so I built that build.
Oh. And is it Bone
I
Shatter?
cannot fail.
Is it Bone Shatter? Everyone tells me Bone Shatter is the Sanctum build.
No.
Okay. Oh.
No, it's Summon Raging Spirits.
Oh.
Except I'm poison. I'm dot capped. And when I mean dot capped, I mean Path of Building warns me that I have too much DPS. and then I exceed the maximum amount, it's block capped, it's spell block capped, it's suppression capped, it's got 5k life, it's got onslaught, movement speed, frenzy charges. It only cost about 20 divines to put together. It is the absolute holy grail. I can't fail. It maps at speed, it clears, it's got explosion pops from Asenaths. It's everything.
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
We're gonna record a video on it tonight for a showcase, but there's still so much more to work out on it and so much more to min-max on it, but it is super tanky, super high damage.
Asenaths are a fairly recent addition because in the on-stream footage, you're still using rare gloves.
Oh, no, the Asenaths are on Bob.
Oh, right, on the animated Guardian. Yeah, I'm stupid.
Yep.
Ooh, interesting.
How's AG's been holding up this league?
He's immortal.
Nice, okay. So they no longer...
he's been immortal for 3 days so far. I've been worried about him, so I didn't give him a Kingmaker yet.
Yeah, Immortals are dead.
But so far he hasn't died, so I'm going to give him a Kingmaker tomorrow morning, and we'll see.
Okay.
He'll probably die like within 10 minutes of giving him a Kingmaker.
Classic.
Because that's just how that works. But
yeah, that's how that mechanic works, yeah.
I think, just going off on one thing you said, like how you're like, oh, Venom Diary is not that good at Sanctum. Like when I was streaming, like a lot of people would come into my chat and say a build is like garbage at Sanctum, and then 10 minutes later, another person will come in and say, "Oh my god, it's the best build ever for Sanctum." And I think it really does depend on, like, first of all, like, you know, what kind of a player are you? Like, are you like a mechanical god, or like, are you like maybe like me and trash at the game? That's me. And also like, what relics you have, right? Like if you have no relics, that's a pretty big difference compared to someone who has full relics. So yeah, I don't necessarily think you had to maybe like abandon VG, because I think you probably could have gotten it there. But yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, it sounds like you got a pretty good build for it now.
I do need to like really, really double down on that just for people listening though. The relics, if you're having a really hard time, you just have to power through failing the first floor over and over again and collect relics. Because they are night and day different.
Not necessarily like power through the first one. I mean, so there is a few strats you can use. So you can just go to white maps and just burn white maps to get the Sanctum really quick. And it's like really easy then. And you can get like a ton of relics that way by going full all 4 floors.
I bet you can do quarry too.
Yeah, I think you can do quarry, or there was meant to be a better one than that. But yeah, you can do that as well. But you will obviously not get the best relics because the map tiers actually do matter about what relics you get. But yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know either way, if you don't have many relics and you're like, this whole thing sucks, get relics. Is this the point? Like, yeah, keep going.
It's okay. We can talk about that
really
later.
Good.
Yeah.
Relics and character progression, because like I said, I'm playing the melee attack skill version of what Tuna started with. So I'm playing Blade Flurry Poison, and I thought in the beginning it was really, really bad. I mean, I still didn't get very far. I'm still working on getting better at the Sanctum, but I put up this tweet by you, Grimro, a couple days ago. The more gear I get, the more fun I have in the Sanctum. And that really like spoke to me. It's just like really the moment when you gear the character with Blade Flurry specifically, I just jump onto a Guardian, I get my debuffs out, and I channel to 6 and release, and that usually kills the Guardian. Not quite yet in tier 16 and then the 83 monster level Sanctums, but almost everything before that. And
you mean the end of the map boss, like the
guards. The guards. You just,
the guards. Okay, I was like,
debuff, jump in. The boss also dies relatively fast, but I don't think on tier 16. Like I think the last boss I did was 80 or 81 or something like that. And but I mean the last boss of the Sanctum I haven't been there yet. I'm still noobing around with my Blade Flurry build. But yeah, slowly getting to the point where I can do things, and it feels a lot better. Even though it's still a bad build for it, and I'm likely going to roll something that deals damage via proxy, or damage over time ranged in some way. I still feel it's a ton better now than it was in the beginning, just by gearing up on the character and getting some relics that give you some bonuses.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty interesting mechanic, but I'll let you handle the flow of the podcast. I got plenty to say, but we'll see.
No, I mean, go for it. We're all
like
hyped.
To hear it too.
I want your advice, Grimro Daddy. Teach me.
I mean, Balor's got plenty
Or
to
to
say as
Sanctum.
well, I'm sure. But I think the first misconception is that whoa, it's an earthquake. Is Sanctum is not rewarding. So a lot of people say that to me. I can pretty much confirm that is not the case. Sanctum is highly rewarding,
Super good.
but it requires you to lean into it heavily. So I don't know how many people here were playing in the Legion League. But the Legion League was basically complete garbage if you were playing a character that was bad at it, but exceptionally overpowered if you're playing a character that was good at it. And also, they're optimized for it. So in Legion League, you would blow up the entire pylon. You did it every single map, and you get a ton of loot, right? And what people did in that league is they played Val Ice Nova to basically walk in, bam, blow up the entire Legion, and then run out and leave. And they did that. OTS, yes. And they did that in a very specific map, Glacier. And they would do this and make insane amounts of currency doing it. And I believe this league is quite a similar one in kind of concept to Legion League, because the rewards are actually very good if you specialize into it in a similar fashion. So I put out a video recently, and you can horizon certain, like the T16 maps, into a map called Graveyard. And that map, if you just do a loop-de-loop around the temple thing, like 9 times out of 10, the Sanctum portal is like around the starting portal. Like just do a loop-de-loop. So if you have enough movement speed, you can get like a full Sanctum floor in like under 5 minutes, and then run it. And it's basically like you're playing purely that mechanic. You can also do that with shield charge, whirling blades, and all sorts of stuff like that. I just feel like people aren't in that mindset just yet. It's going to take a little bit longer, because everyone on my video was like, I don't have that much movement speed. It took me 2 minutes to find the portal. We'll get there though. I think everyone's going to be very, very excited to do the Sanctum once people play characters like yours, Balor, and I'm sure there's going to be other builds for it as well, which are cheap and easy to get in and do the full floors.
So that, I guess, answers already one of the questions I had on the list for later in the podcast, which was, do you get to interact as much with the league mechanic as you would like to? Because I've seen a tweet by Zizaran. He would like to store more Sanctums, like store up to 32 rooms, or maybe even get 2 rooms per map. I don't know whether that's what Ziz's tweet, but I've definitely seen that come up in the community. Hey, why don't you give us 2 rooms per map or something like that so we can play more of the league? What is your feeling on that? Or maybe Tuna go first.
Well, I want to play the league mechanic more, so I'd love both. And I would personally prefer to not have to engage in sort of like totally degenerate behavior to access it. Like I kind of like I love mapping, right? So I don't want to have to like respec my Atlas passive tree to just like favor just like rushing basically to the portal, if that makes sense. Like I still want to have a mapping experience, but I also want to have a league mechanic experience. And right now it feels like 32 floors, if I was to just like run maps normally, which is like, I don't know, like on average like maybe 4 minutes a map, it takes a long time, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
But I totally get the whole thing about leaning towards it, like because in the current state of things, like I wanna play the mechanic more, so I will lean in more towards it if that's what I gotta do, right? Because the league mechanic is good and it's fun. So
it doesn't have to be that extreme though, right? Because like I did that for like a day and I got pretty cooked out on it, right? Like just spamming it like hundreds of maps per hour to try and just get the Sanctum. It's like it's not the most chill experience, right? And I kind of found a middle ground where I was not doing like insane mechanics, like no Legion, no Delirium, and just like doing speed maps. And that's where it felt incredible for me, because like I do a map in 2 minutes, under 2 minutes sometimes, and then I get to do the Sanctum a lot more.
Yep. Makes sense.
Oh, I still need to figure out an Atlas strategy to do that's actually like good, but also quick. I've limited. This is the first time in like what, over a year that I haven't started Magic Find.
Ooh.
Like I league start Magic Find like every league. Like I'm Magic Find by the end of day 1.
It's not very
like,
good.
I can't. I usually can't kill any boss past my Eater and like quest versions of those 2. I can kill them, and that's the last boss I ever kill. I have to get carry for everything else because I'm MF already. Like, and this is the first time I've started not MF, and I don't even want to do juice maps. Like my normal kind of. I don't even think I'm going to be a headhunter gamer this league. I don't even want one. I'm just looking at it and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I want the other belt. I'm pretty sure this is a Mage Blood league.
Yeah. That one is
I
a
want to
good
do
one.
so much more of it. I want to do so much more league mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably a good place to start is Tuna's strategy with the growing hordes. That's probably a very good one for Sanctum, like in
It's
Toxic
alright.
Sewer or something.
I feel like you could go even faster, right? Like honestly, the best thing to do is most likely gonna be some sort of boss rushing strat. To be honest, right? Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I'm also
uh,
doing growing hordes, by the way.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, otherwise, like growing hordes is good if you actually want to get something out of your maps. But even now,
Yeah.
like I'm sort of like considering like you know, because expedition and harvest take a long time to run compared to like other mechanics. So it's probably like drop one of them type of thing because you probably get them like both of them every map. So drop expedition or drop harvest and you know go about it that way.
I went expedition and harbinger.
Okay. I personally don't like harbinger again because it stalls your map, right?
Yeah.
So I just like respect harvest out and took essence now because I mean it's just like one click and
Instant.
you get money.
Yeah, I definitely need to find out what I want to do in that regard. But like to quickly respond to the what Zizaran said with like maybe being able to stack up 32, I feel you just said Tuna that's perfect. You don't want to engage in degenerate play in order to like force as many sanctums as possible. But what I want to say is even if you like map properly, the degree of degeneracy between regular mapping and what you have to play in the Sanctum is so different, right? Like it's such a different gaming approach and gaming mindset that you have to go into it with that I'd really like if we could store up more rooms than just 8 because, yeah, you need to do a complete 180-degree switch on how you approach the game in order to go into Sanctum.
I also really want to be able to launch it from my hideout, not
Oh,
from
yeah.
the inside a map. Please?
Yeah, having to encounter it in an enemy zone is actually rough.
I'll play devil's advocate against Zizaran here. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with him. This is just a thought. But right now, the Sanctum feels pretty good in terms of its rewards. So, you know, like you can get like 4 divines in a run, 2 divines very often. You know, maybe sometimes you get 1. If you get unlucky, you're probably going to get like a pile of chaos and sextants, which, you know, sells for a good amount. You're never feeling like you're wasting your time unless you fail. Now, if you were to get 2 rooms per map,
no. Sorry. Just quickly, Zizaran's suggestion was the 32 rooms up storing up. I don't know whether 2 per map. Zizaran was like same amount, but just let me store up more so I can do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree with that. But I thought it was like some people have been saying I want 2 rooms
Some people
per map
said that,
like
yeah.
That.
Just wanted to quickly hook in before I'm the one who said that Zizaran said that or something like that.
All right, yeah. But yeah, like 2 rooms per map would be like, they'd have to turn down the rewards, I would say, or it would go the other way. Yeah, or it would go the other way and it would be like similar to Sentinel, where it's like, okay, Sentinel is basically the only thing you care about running. Like everything else is garbage. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, okay, well that's too far the other way. I think it's actually in a pretty good spot right now. But yeah, I'd like to set 32 rooms as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you put it like that, if you think, yeah, if you can run twice as many, you'd have to cut the rewards in half. I'm not sure whether it's exactly like that because running them still takes time and skill, right? But
it wouldn't quite be half, but still close enough.
You'd have to probably turn down the rewards, and then I'm not a friend of that. If that means that, I'm just saying, like, it's the league. Let the people play the league. We don't want to do Blight League again, where the actual blighted map gameplay is like 5% of your league's gameplay.
I agree.
I do kind of get like that it's very rewarding, but it does kind of feel a little odd how like it's we're kind of detached from like the getting something every map, right? Like you are getting a room and a room is like good, but I don't know, like when you do go do it, it feels like it's over so fast. And I don't know.
If you do the room every map, it's really over in like a heartbeat. Like
yeah, it just feels like it's over so fast. But I mean, it's like I do want more of the league
very
mechanic,
similar
but
to
at the same
Delve.
time, I get it. I get it.
It's like instead of Soulfire, you have the 8 rooms, right? You got to fill up your Soulfire bar to have fun.
Yeah, but in Delve, like it feels like you can stay in there for like an eternity, right?
Yeah, it's Delve, except you've only got a 10,000 sulfite cap, and that's it. That's all you get.
Yeah, I agree with you guys.
Okay, but that is just that's a really like mild downside when we're just saying we don't like about the league that we don't get to play it as much as we would like to. Let me just
Our
bring
only
up one more
complaint is
downside
more
before.
league, please.
Yeah, one more downside, one little gripe I have, but then that's probably all of it for the downsides and like more hype is that the rewards that we're supposed to be looking for, the relics, like the rewards that give the league its identity in terms of reward structure, the sanctified relics, the fact that they don't persist beyond the end of the league is a little bit sad. I mean, I guess we're all temp league players here, and we don't really care. We delete our characters when they go permanent, and we just go for the next 3-month league.
I disagree.
Okay. Yep.
And I'll tell
Go
you
for it.
why. There are some ridiculously strong things from those relics. Ridiculously strong. There's notables on your passive tree. There's like +3 max res cold. I've already got an int stacking one. It's just like if they didn't start this by saying these will never exist, we are deleting them, they would never have been able to put in stuff that strong.
True, I
And
agree.
Absolute fair point.
I
think that-
I really like the strong stuff.
I prefer this as well.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just gonna be like a Calandra where they're like, play it safe. Okay, this can exist in standard, but no one like it's like so boring in the league, right? I'd rather have like insanely overpowered stuff and then we lose it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just way more fun.
No, I agree.
I actually wish we had 2 relics and not 1 relic.
Okay, dude.
No, wait, I'll tell you the reason. The reason is a very good reason. It's very important to me. It's really upsetting when I open the locker that's got my relic in it and it's not mirrored. And one side has a relic slot and the other side just doesn't have a slot and there's nothing there and it doesn't look mirrored at all and it's upsetting.
Makes sense. True, dude.
That's the only reason. I don't even care about like the power of a second relic. It bothers me that it's not mirrored.
I mean, it would be kind of cool if the power level of relics was split up into 2. Like if relics had 50% of the power, but you could equip 2, and then you could mix and match more, right? And be like, I want to have this combination rather than just deciding on 1 relic. I also think it's great when they're very powerful, and I'd rather have them removed. But I can see the point of people. Why should I like strive for something that doesn't persist? Like a lot of people like to take something from the temp league into the permanent league that they couldn't have gotten if they hadn't played the temp league. And so far, there's like nothing that I've seen in this league that qualifies as that sort of thing, right? There's nothing that you couldn't have gotten.
Is that true though? Because like I don't even hear that complaint from standard players, like the sanctified relics, like yeah, sure. There's some people that like to flip items onto standard to make a shitload of money, but like this wouldn't be flippable anyways. So to them, it's sort of like,
I don't think it's
If
gonna
they
get
want to play
deleted
the
either.
do you mean the league mechanic or? The
Yeah,
relic.
I think that you'll get to keep the relic and be like, hey, look what I had. It's just you won't be able to equip it anymore, like League Stones were, like in Legacy League and stuff like that.
If that's the case, then I'm happy. Like if you get to keep the relic and you get to look at it and be like, hey, this is my little,
Look at this gross
Memorable.
relic I had back in the
Just like
day.
as a memorabilia. Yeah, fair enough.
Mm.
You could do that, yeah.
because you see all these people doing like their stash tabs full of the different league items or league exclusive uniques and stuff like that they just have to never actually really use, but to just look at it after the league. And so that's why I'm saying if they were to disappear, did they clarify that? They just said they didn't persist, but they didn't say whether they're actually staying, and you could just get to
That's such a minor
remove
pet
the
peeve though,
slot.
like honestly.
Yeah,
I feel like it's so irrelevant even if it doesn't, let's be honest.
And that's
like-
why I wanted to get it out of the way right now, because it's such a minor complaint, and it's like my only one.
Like I feel like it sounds cheesy, but if you really love the league, you bring the memories with you, right? Like we always talk about like Legion League, whatever.
But what if I get Alzheimer's and I need the items to remind me?
You'll forget what PoE is. It's fine.
True. I'll look at the item and I won't feel anything.
I feel like this league you'd bring back more than other leagues because of like all the cool new uniques and maybe stuff that's like I don't know, all that stuff is like memories. Although it's like available in standard too, but still.
Yeah, true.
Sorry, Grimro, I interrupted you.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's gonna be like probably gonna be like the how the Sentinels, like you've got Sentinels in your stash right now. Like why would it not work the same way? They didn't
Right.
delete the Sentinels.
I
They
didn't even
did, they
notice.
did delete the prophecies though.
Don't worry about it, dude. It's all good.
No worries.
Anyway, yeah, let's not get stuck on this point. It's a very, very boring point that I brought up there. We have other interesting points to talk about. So, what do you want to go first? A general approach to pathing through the Sanctum floors. Which rooms do you aim for? Which ones do you try to avoid? I've come across the information and then it opened my eyes a little bit. You know, if you look at the little map of the Sanctum rooms, they're actually not all connected to as many follow-up rooms as the other rooms. Like there's sometimes you get into one room, you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have a choice between two. Sometimes you have a choice between three. So that's something that kind of primed me to think more about which path I plan outside of the exact next room that comes up. What are some other things to look out for?
You want to go first, Balor, or you want me to?
You'll probably have more information than me. So I don't know. All I'm doing right now is, as far as I can see, I'm looking for rewards first. If I see something with a divine orb on it, I'm going for that. If I ever see a mirror, obviously I'm going to beeline for that one. Things I'm avoiding are only things that take away my coins because I need them to spend at merchants. And frankly, my build does every room without losing any inspiration or resolve. It doesn't matter. So I don't care about any of that. I just go for the packs because I really like them and none of the downsides affect me. And then I go for merchants to buy stuff and divine orbs, and that's or any other currency. And I just scream through it as quick as I can, looking for those. There's probably a more nuanced way to do that I just don't know yet.
Wait, you don't care about the red mist where you can't see the rooms anymore, like the rewards and the afflictions.
The ones that remove rewards are annoying, and the ones that make it so that they take my coins away are annoying. So I try to avoid them if I can.
I feel like when you don't see what's in the next rooms, that's like the worst. You have like zero control over what you're gonna get, what you're getting yourself into.
Finish it.
I found that was one of the worst rewards, or not rewards, downsides.
Afflictions.
It's like you don't know where to path anymore, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with what Bella said. Kind of. So I guess one of the biggest things which people would probably want to know is, at least from my experience and the people who I've been talking to, you cannot get tier 1 currencies in the first 2 floors. It's not possible. They only spawn in floor 3 and 4. So from that perspective, the only thing you can get of value really in the first 2 floors is Awakened Sextants, Stack Decks, Kiosk Orbs, and that's pretty much it. So what I like to do is I like to spend the first 2 floors making sure I'm set up. There's a few things I'm looking for. There's the merchant one, which basically reveals the entire sanctum. There's like a thing that you can buy. And that is incredibly powerful because when you get to floor 3 and 4, you can see all the rewards and then see the divine orbs, right? And then you can path to the divine orbs, which is going to massively increase your rewards overall in general. In addition to that, you want to pick up as many of the Aureus coins in the first 2 floors as possible as well, because then you can spend them later on relics, because the merchant actually offers sanctified relics as well as normal relics for your increased progression. So that's pretty good as well. And in addition to that, there's like certain fountains which grant you inspiration and massive amounts of boons and stuff like that. You want to pick them up as well in the first 2 floors if you can get to them. And if you're not playing an overpowered build like Balor here, you'd want to use the first 2 floors to like get a ton of boons and like really get powerful. Like maybe get like 50% more damage, or like some things to give you tons of resolve and stuff like that as well. So yeah, first 2 floors setup, last 2 floors reward. That's kind of the way you want to go about it.
See, I didn't even know that. Now I can scream through the first 2 floors quicker.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who are playing basically lab runners who just basically they ignore everything in the first 2 floors. They literally just click anything, and then bam, they're in the money zone. Nice. Of course they do that. Yeah, but actually, what you said, Kat, is actually a pretty good point. I actually do factor that into my own gameplay. So there's a room called Infernum in floor 3, I'm sure we've all experienced it. It's the room which is like a donut with a thing in the middle and 2 flamethrowers like coming across each side. And that room, if you're not a totem build or super clued in to how that one works, like know exactly where to stand. Like if you're playing BB, for example, that one can just end your run if you pick it. So like if you like are picking a track with only one path and then surprise, Infernum, run over. So you generally want to pick one with like multiple ways to go.
That room ended my run on Venom Guy so many times.
Yes, that one is
just like,
really
I went from 320 resolve and 100 inspiration to just gone. See ya.
That's probably going to be the only room which is like that, though. So yeah, if you're having trouble with the Sanctum, just learn to skip that one.
But it's not the only thing that can end your run. Like I said, when you don't see the downsides that the rooms bring, or when you don't have a choice but to just go into the next room because it's the only room that you can go into, you can get into a situation where you don't even have like 100 resolve, and then the next room removes 100 of your resolve.
Yeah,
or something like that.
You're talking about the afflictions. Yeah, that is
wait. Actually, that's only max resolve. The one that removes non-max resolve was from the fountain, right? From the picking affliction from the pact. Sorry, I'm mixing things up.
That's okay. Yeah, but I mean, like generally, if you path correctly, it's like okay, you're not going to get hit with too many of those bad ones. But you're right, some of them are pretty rough.
Well, the most important takeaway here is you want to keep your options. You want to keep a plan B. Don't get into the path that doesn't give you options.
Mm-hmm.
And then as for afflictions and boons, is there anything that you? I mean, well, I guess that's what we said. Any super bad things? I like to get a little bit of more damage when I can from the vendor. There's a 50% more vendor damage or more damage to monsters, because that allows you to then later pick something where the monsters become more tanky or you deal less damage. So like planning ahead.
Did anyone else want to go? I have obviously stuff to say here.
You have all the info. I haven't been like super focusing on the lead mechanic, so I'm more of like if you need me to talk about maps and outlets and that kind of stuff, I got you. But I'm actually here to learn on that too.
All right. So for the most part, as you alluded to, Kat, I tried doing the Sanctum early. I got absolutely trucked, man. I got put in a trash can and taken around back. And that was ultimately because some of the afflictions are particularly punishing when you don't have a lot of gear. So, for example, 40% less reduced movement speed is like run ending when you don't have a lot of power. After I put the belt on, I can take that with no problem, right? If you have like an insanely like OP single target ability, like General's Cry, Blade Flurry or something like that, 25% less damage. Like, man, who cares? I'm still one-shotting everything, right? So overall, afflictions become a lot less punishing as you increase your gear level. And then in addition to that, afflictions also become less punishing as you get additional relics. While you were talking about like minus 100 resolve, that's like really impactful when you're starting out, because it's a third of your life total, maybe even more if you've taken damage. But after you've got relics, I've got like 500 total resolve, and I like regenerate like 50% of it every time I like finish a boss, right? Like minus 100 resolve, who cares, man? It doesn't even matter. So overall, afflictions get a lot less like yucky when you play more. The only ones which really will stick with you are the ones which make traps move faster, which is a big no-no. You never want to take that. The one which makes rooms random, because you either
control it.
lose rewards or end up in a really bad place, which is bad. And then also the ones which obscure the map, like you were saying, Catmaster. That's really bad because you can't see the divine orbs, you can't see where you're going, you could end up in a really bad place.
That one's my least favorite.
Yep.
As for fighting the guards, do you have like some favorites or some less favorites? I heard like some people were like, "Oh, the flicker strike dude is bad," but then if you kind go close up to the flicker strike, doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm aware, and maybe some people in chat don't know, so maybe this is important to point out. When you look in the top right, like some rooms, I mean, most people have heard of that, but if you haven't heard of it yet, most rooms don't require, or many rooms don't require you to kill the guards at all, but they just require you to beeline to the exit. as we see Grimro doing here in the background, not in this room, but in a previous one. This is the first floor boss.
Yeah.
That's maybe something to pay attention to. I mean, if you're new and if you want to get Oreo coins and get a little bit of a grasp on how the little guards work, it may be worth it to just fight them if you know I'm not going to make it past this floor or to the end anyway. But if you're trying to go as far as possible in your sanctum, then you definitely want to take advantage of those rooms where you only have to go to the exit, because they're pretty much free. If you have enough movement speed, you don't lose resolve there, right? I mean, unless you path really poorly or you're really unlucky, like walking up to some archer guards or something like that. But yeah, do you guys have any like least favorite guards, or they're all butter and you just kill them or ignore them?
If you're BBE, all of them suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same for
it's
flurry poison.
Like they kind of like trolled a little bit with the whole melee thing, honestly. Because like they're like, oh, you know, like you don't lose much resolve, but it's like, man, you do. You do.
Yeah.
You lose all your resolve. Like there could have been many ways for them to circumvent that, but I don't know, man.
My first thought when I was playing Venom Gaia was I wish that their melee attacks didn't take resolve at all. Like abilities I get, and you could dodge them.
Yeah.
Right? Abilities all have like, you know, big shiny effects and a little bit of time to dodge the thing. But when they're not doing those, they're like default attacks still take a ton.
Yeah.
So like you can't like don't know about that.
What in the beginning always got me was the melee blue dude that like hovers a little bit and then does this like ice crash like huge AoE.
Yeah.
That one got me always in the beginning.
Yeah. For a melee, that would definitely be rough. I think at least for a ranged totem build, so you know, literally the best build for it.
Yeah.
The only ones which really give me trouble, the guy who does all of the ice spears, like he lines the whole screen up with them and goes. That guy's a bit of trouble, and then the guy who puts the maelstrom down, which follows you. That's the only things which I find particularly annoying.
The ice spear guy, you would just counter with like, if you can, jumping behind him before the ice spears go off, right?
Yeah, I still haven't put blink arrow on my bar. Probably should do that.
Yeah, that would probably help. That would probably help. Yeah. And then do we want to go a little bit into floor 3 and 4? Because I haven't seen a whole lot. I've been on floor 3 once and I relatively quickly died. But maybe we can all benefit from a little bit of insight if Grimro is willing to share. It's like,
I mean, Balor too has most definitely done floor 4. So
true, with the SOS.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then tell us what you know, Balor, and then Grimro fills in the gaps.
So I say, oh, yeah. I only rerolled this character like yesterday.
Oh, okay.
like yesterday. So yeah, it also only takes me like 2.5 to 3 seconds to kill that like final like the optional one at the end.
Yeah,
like that's over in 2.5 seconds. So like,
I also complained about that to Tuna. Actually, it's got like no HP. I don't know why.
Yeah, the first dude's harder.
Questionable, but yes, okay.
But either way, while I've been there, I've now done it, I think 4 times. That's it. Because I just re-leveled yesterday. And so now I'm nearly level 96 because this character doesn't die. But yeah, I haven't done that many of them yet. I will be. I'm doing them now. But yeah.
And seeing that you're playing a summoner, then there's also like almost no mechanical advice that you can give people in regards to the 3rd and 4th floor boss because they just instantly die.
I actually can give some mechanical advice because I don't like to admit it, but okay, just keep in mind I've done a lot of sanctums. I've probably lost about 20 divines worth of stuff in the sanctum so far. Just
nice. Understandable.
Mistakes. Like actual raw divines as well. It's pretty painful. Anyway, okay, so there's the 3rd and 4th floor are by far the hardest, absolutely. So the 3rd floor, as I mentioned, the one thing to look out for is the Infernum room. Do not go in there unless you know what you're doing, or at least unless you want to practice it. It's instant death. And then the last boss is, I don't know how you're meant to do that on melee, honestly. The last boss of the 3rd floor. It's basically like doing Innocence from Act 5. He has the Innocence, you know when you have to hide behind the pillar. It's got that attack, and it's also got a bunch of beams in the room, and it also dashes around with a big scythe. So like I just put my totems down and run off the screen, and it dies. So someone tell me how to do that on melee. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so yeah, that's the third floor, and then the fourth floor. It also has another tough room. I think it's called. I don't remember what it's called, but it's another flamethrower room. You probably want to avoid that one. But the boss, I don't know how Valor isn't dying to it, but it does only exclusively physical damage and chaos damage, and it does a lot of it. So if you do not have determination and a granite, you can literally walk up and it just goes bam and you die instantly. So yeah, I had to put a determination and a granite on, otherwise it would just one shot me like consistently. And the kicker is 25% of its damage is converted to chaos on all of its attacks. So if you're at -60, you're just insta-dead as soon as you walk in. It's really troll. So you need chaos res, at least neutral, but preferably higher. And I don't know if you guys want me to spoil the secret boss, but there is a mechanic similar to the Maven's memory game, which people who don't insta-phase it like Balor need to know about.
Oh, is there?
Yes.
Oh,
there is.
Right. The reason I don't die is because I'm block capped and I have determination and a granite, like 17,000 armor and 60 chaos res.
Oh, perfect. Then it won't even, if you have that, it doesn't even touch you. Like you can literally stand in its stuff and it will not hurt you. Yeah. But if you don't have that, it's gonna one tap you.
Did you lose resolve though? If you're like tanking and stuff, or is that point like? Because I haven't even played it. I'm like starting now.
Yeah, like honestly, man, when you get the relics and you know what you're doing, if you're playing a build that is reasonable for it, resolve like it's not why you lose. Yeah, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Resolve was a huge issue when I first started doing it.
Huge, I don't have any relics. I don't have anything, so I'm just like I'm walking in there, and it's like everything's new and exciting. So it's nice.
Once you get like a good section of semi-decent relics in there and some experience, resolve isn't an issue anymore. It's not. You might run out of resolve and die, but it's not because you didn't have resolve. It's because you screwed up like 7 times in a row and like ran with a laser and
Yeah. Maybe if you're playing melee.
Yeah.
If it would be a trouble, but I'm not sure. People do it on Bone Shatter. They like think it's easy on Bone Shatter. So I think there's hope, but yeah.
On Bone Shatter?
I just need the damage, dude. I just need to ramp, and then everything's gonna fall instantly. And
it actually is cheesable. 100% it is cheesable. Like as Balor said, I hit a breakpoint today where like the boss dies before it does the mechanic, and it becomes infinitely easier.
I didn't realize it had a mechanic.
The mechanic is do you want me to say, or do you
quick spoiler alert, everyone who doesn't want to hear it, mute your microphone, your headphones and switch off the stream and skip past to the time code.
Well, I actually imagine people will want to know about it because most likely
we have a mission to report information here. This is the Fated Connections has a higher purpose than avoiding spoilers.
So I would imagine if you do not have at least around 6 to 7 million DPS, you're probably going to see this mechanic. And the mechanic is basically after 10 seconds, she's going to go into the middle of the room and become untargetable. And she's going to start pulsing out these big fizz and chaos waves, right? And I looked them up on PUEDB. They do 13,000 fizz damage, multiple hits at once, and 25% is converted to chaos. So you cannot tank it unless you're, I don't know, man. I don't think you can tank it. Basically, they're like these big donuts that come out of her, and there's like 4 gaps in them, and they rotate. So you have to run through the gaps. And that's basically what you have to do.
To get to her.
As long as you, pardon?
To get to her.
No, it's just for a duration. You have to dodge them for a certain amount of time. It's kind of like the Exile bull phase.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, it's not as hard as Exile, but that's the mechanic. And as long as you don't have any issues with that, it's pretty much free. Yeah.
Cool. I look forward to seeing that. I probably wouldn't want to kill it too fast.
I look forward to dying to that.
I remember it's like in Ultimatum, the boss had like such a low spawn rate. At least for me, like I had like a very, very abysmal spawn rate. But the first time I actually ended up seeing him, he just like died in like 2 seconds. I was like, I was like, what is this, man?
It's gonna be the same thing, unfortunately.
Oh,
It dies
no.
very fast.
Hopefully
Yeah.
not. Hopefully I get to experience it a little bit.
Fingers crossed. Oh, actually, no. That's just dead on cooldown with your build. I've seen what you're doing. It's dead on cooldown. Sorry, dude.
Oh boy.
Poison Spark is gonna destroy it.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. Okay.
I guess if you want like a little bit to talk about the new relics as well, the unique ones which they announced.
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Maybe we talk about the basic relics first and say what exactly. Like we talked about how the relics are a big part in helping to make the Sanctum easier. But what specific mods should you look for on your relics if you have a choice? I mean, a lot of people won't have enough relics to fill their stash if they're just getting into the league, and I just have like 2 or 3 extra beyond my stash. But like, if you have a big sort of page full of relics, what are you looking for? Resolve recovery mostly?
Part of me doesn't want to say because I feel like I'm listening to Tuna and I feel like I'm spoiling it for him a little bit.
That's all good.
But yeah, so in general, the best relics are resolve. So you can get flat resolve and increased percentage resolve. So there's obviously 2 scalars there. There's also inspiration, but there's only 1 scalar, and that is flat inspiration. So there's no really way to get really huge with it. So it's not as good, and it's also not as easy to recover as resolve. Balor's looking very funny there because he's going to talk about how you can go to the handshake rooms and get like 5,000 boons, but that is not as good as just having consistent resolve. I'm telling you, Bella, I tried.
I do most of my runs on 1 resolve. I love taking the takeaway resolve things. I end runs with like 1,000 inspiration. All my temples are CI runs. It's amazing.
But the thing is, you're like dependent on that then, right? You have to get those rooms. Otherwise, you're like scarfed.
No, because I've got like 5 relics on that give me inspiration all the time. I've got like inspiration when you start a room or kill a boss or at the beginning of each floor, or and then almost every time I get a boon that's like gain 100 inspiration or something. I don't know the number. Whenever you receive any negative. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
And
when
so
you get an affliction, gain 65 inspiration. Yeah.
So
That's
it's just inspiration stacking, I am pretty sure, is the stronger mechanic. I think it's better.
Okay. Get this guy out of here, bitch. He doesn't know. Bro, you can go to like a fountain and heal up like 70% of your resolve in one go and you have a K. Come on, man. How are you going to compete with that?
But you don't have I've not seen anyone with 1,000 resolve.
Yeah, easy, man. I have like a lot of runs. You get like a K. It's like easy club, dude. Okay. The argument aside, basically there's 2 viable builds. It depends which one you find more fun. Inspiration, basically you can get tons and tons of boons by going to the handshake rooms, which that's potentially better because a lot of the handshakes are like you lose 50% of your resolve or like 100% of your resolve in some cases. But the resolve one, you basically don't need to use any rooms. You can literally go through the entire sanctum and buy nothing. You can go to no handshake rooms, and you can full clear floor 4 if you've got a build which has enough damage. And that's why I picked that. But anyway, both are fine. They're both good. I think the thing which is more interesting to talk about, though, is the other relics which do not give you defense. They give you other opportunities. So there's 2 which I think are the main ones. And there's 1 which increases the amount of offers on the vendors by 2 at the max roll. So there's a certain amount of boons in the game. And if you have enough of those relics, you'll be able to basically be playing with hacks and get all of the relics at the very first shop you go to. And you can buy whatever you want. And in addition to that, you can also get a ton of other sanctified relics there as well, which you can choose to buy. That's pretty OP. And then also the one which reveals rooms. So there's one which reveals 2 rooms per relic you have on the sanctum, which basically lets you scout the sanctum without even having the shop thing, which lets you basically target the best path and the best rewards. But yeah,
Wait.
getting those, not easy.
You can reveal a number of rooms? Like, as in you can target reveal, or they're just randomly revealed per floor? Or
randomly revealed every floor. So
Okay.
if you have like 4 reveals, 4 of the tiles will be revealed. If you had like
Right.
10 will be revealed.
And I have another question. The gain resolve, how many different and what different triggers are there? Like gain 22 resolve on finishing a floor or entering a new floor, I think is one, right?
Room, sanctum, floor.
There's
start of sanctum.
resolve per room.
Yeah, it's small though. It's like 6.
3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same with inspiration, I think.
Inspiration you cannot get per room, but you can get it per affliction.
Ah, right. That's the difference? All right. See, the main reason that I like the inspiration more is because I'm using my resolve as a currency to buy more things.
That's pretty fun. I'll admit, it's pretty fun. So it's up to you what you want
It's
to
a
do.
currency. I'll buy more things with it.
Yeah. And
Also, I
later
just
on-
find it really amusing to have like 1 of 1 resolve.
Yeah, it's pretty OP. Yeah, I think mechanics really solid if you enjoy that kind of gameplay. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like the decision making, like which room to go for next, which trade off with the afflictions and all that. Do I get this one big thing at the merchant, or do I go cheap? Do I, if I don't have a lot of resolve? I mean, many people said that you shouldn't buy the resolve for 200 at the merchant, but if you know for sure that you're gonna brick the next room if you don't get it, that's something that you totally need. I've been in that situation.
It's one of the
But
best.
if you've got like 50 out of 500 resolve left and you're at a vendor with 200 resolve, you're probably taking it. It's not efficient use of your coins. You don't want to be put in that situation. But your run's over if you don't, so you take it.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm on the one hand, I'm kind of jealous, like Grimro seems to be like a total expert on the whole thing already. And I wish I would have engaged as much. But then on the other hand, I'm super excited to get to that point still, right? To have that journey ahead of me.
At a cost, Cat. At a cost. I was talking to Tuna and he's like, look at all this stuff I've done. I've done so much currency. I'm like, I know about the Sanctum. Is that good? It's like, no.
True. I mean, yeah. In the Sanctums that you could have failed, there's so much stuff that you could have farmed in that time, probably.
It's fine. It's all about the fun, right? It is what it is.
Yep.
You seem to be having a lot of fun, so that's great.
Here's the other thing, and I know Grim more so, but all 3 of us that aren't Cat are pretty profit driven pretty often, even though it's fun driven, but that fun comes from profit pretty often, right?
Both.
One of the things that I love,
enjoy,
one of the things that I love the most about this league mechanic is that it actually doesn't matter how profitable it is.
Yes,
it doesn't matter because you have to do it if you want the relics. It's the only way to get the relics. The relics are character progression, and to me, it's almost like asking me, "Hey, how profitable is it to level from 70 to 80?" Well, I don't know. It depends on what you get in there, but it doesn't matter because you get 10 passive points, and that's the profit. That thought process exists in the Sanctum for me. It's like it doesn't matter if I happen to be making money. It is profitable. It's quite good, but that doesn't matter because the relics in there are what I want, and that's character progression. I have to go run it.
I mean, it kind of directly translates the profit if you think about it on a character progression standpoint. Because if there was like an option to get something like a relic in previous leagues on a separate slot that wasn't part of your inventory, you'd pay like multiple mirrors for it, right?
Oh yeah.
So
it's like more powerful than a watch is.
Yeah.
Like I've got 1 int stacking relic, and I've spent every single day since then. I've been thinking, what kind of int stacker would I like to make? Because I wish I got a dex one because I'd like to do dex stacking more than I'd like to do int stacking. But I've got an int stacking relic, so I might do something int stacking. Like I might.
The relics are build defining. I got the Ignite Prolif one before. It's not a huge radius, but like you can do some stuff with it. It's pretty cool.
I've seen one with mana reservation efficiency of skills.
Yeah, that one's
on Twitter. Was that 10% or something like that? But like definitely double-digit value was pretty poggers.
Yeah.
Also, lightning damage can freeze. That was a really cool one too.
Yeah, there's also like the cold damage can like ignite and stuff like that as well. Which is really sweet.
There's all kinds of cool stuff like that. Yeah. Can you get like 2 of those on one? Like, could you get like fire damage can freeze and fire damage can shock?
I would assume that they're both suffix or both prefix either. So you can't. That'd be exclusive, but I don't know.
I need to be looking at PvDB a little bit more about this kind of stuff.
But
not that I'm getting into it. So
there is suffixes and prefixes. So yes, that's the way it works, Tuna. Unfortunately.
So the interesting thing is, you don't really need to look at the PoE DB because you can't buy them. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter
true.
what exists. It
It's
only
fun to
matters
think
what
about that.
you've got.
Yeah.
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 Which is
I
the great
literally
thing.
haven't
Like
gone to look yet. I just keep picking them up and finding out what they do, and it's super fun.
you've already hinted at it, or like that was basically the point that you were trying to bring up now, or that we're bringing up now. But like you said it nicer on your stream, where you said like normally you wouldn't give a damn about the league mechanic because you'd just be doing the one thing that is most profitable, and then you'd be buying the relics that you want from the profit that you made, right? And now there's no way for you to do that, so you have to get good at the Sanctum in order to get relics.
I mean, we literally made an entire build just to go relic hunting.
I mean, that's what I was saying earlier with the Legion stuff. You will want to do that. Like, it's profitable enough. It's only getting more profitable because of the invitations they're adding. It's like Legion League. You want a Sanctum runner.
All right, yeah, maybe we should talk about that. They did tease the unique relics, right? Are they already patched in now?
No, not yet.
It's
No.
Monday, I think.
They're coming.
You said
Okay.
next week, so
I suspect it'll be Monday or Tuesday just because of when they announced it. I also expect if there's not another patch by the end of the week, it's probably the last one we get. Luckily, I'm not really desperate for more patches this time.
no, there's gonna be many more patches.
Well, maybe, but like it's Christmas break after next week, so
Yeah, they might not be like completely like mechanic altering or whatever, but I mean the league just started, right? There's gonna be a lot of tweaks here and there, I think, and especially like it's like it's. I understand the fact that like you reroll the build and you think it's okay for like it's like now that I got a build that's like blasts it. It's like sure, but like in terms of build diversity and it's completely garbage, right? Like that's they need to solve that. Like I want to really advocate that it's like you should be able to play like like Melee is already down bad. Like it doesn't have to be worse for them.
It's rough, man. That's rough to be Melee right now.
That is true. I do. Look, so I said this on the last podcast. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again, and I'm sticking to the. I stand by this. I feel for anyone who really, really enjoys playing Melee builds. However, since the dawn of time, since cavemen learned to pick up rocks and throw them, ranged has always been better than Melee. It's like that in all of the games.
Some
It's
people
like that
actually
in real life. It's like that. It's been like that for if you're bringing a stick to a gunfight, you can't expect it to work just as well. Like that's. I understand that it's fun and you like it, and I'm sorry about that, but also it's. You brought a stick to a gunfight.
That's good. Can I add to that? I think people think that melee has to be you default attack in like literally like next to the mob. There's so many mechanics for you to have additional strike range and all that kind of stuff. But in general, the one thing that is bad about melee is that you do have to stand still, and you do have to be relatively close to the target in comparison to like say like something that can off screen, right? Like it does have those downsides, but it has the upsides, which makes it worth it in certain ways. Like for example, Lightning Strike had recovery, life gain on hit. It's tanky, right? So,
yeah,
but
and
the mechanic doesn't
was it
care
wasn't
about
Melee,
that, right? But no. Like the thing about Melee or whatever, like I think that is completely like wrong. Melee is just you equip a weapon and you hit something, right? Like it doesn't matter to me whether it shoots projectiles forward or anything like that. It doesn't matter. Like Melee doesn't mean name lock, in my opinion. Like you look at games like Terraria and it does melee fantastically because it has two types of melee. It has true melee and it has melee, right? Whatever. But having a weapon, what's fun about melee builds is that you're scaling weapon damage and you are using a sword or an axe or whatever, right? It's not like that you necessarily have to be inside of a monster like to be considered melee, like, you know? Like I really dislike that concept around melee has to be me next to a monster smacking him with a stick.
Well, I mean, but it does really essentially mean that melee is bad until it's not melee, basically. But
well, the concept of IRL melee, yeah, but it's a game, right?
Someone actually responded to that sentiment in the comments of the last podcast, and while I don't really want to point out, like, I don't want to read out the entire thing, but he says Melee's weakness in real life is once you throw a spear, you either need to have backups ready or you go pick up the one that you threw.
That's range.
Ranged, I mean, yeah.
Weakness of ranged over melee, right? And so that would be the strength of melee, but that's not something that the game realistically does, because in the game you don't have that ammunition system for range.
Again, why are we trying to compare games to real life? Like, it's a game for a reason, man. Like, it doesn't have to be me with my axe hitting something. Like, it could be like Legion Cyclone or like Scream Wide Reeve. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be like I don't know, like Perforate as well is a cool example. You get like a cool AoE on it. It's like, but yeah, it has like upsides and downsides. And the downside is that you're a character with a weapon, you have to stand still and you can't off screen completely like a spell or whatever. But I think the real thing that changes is how you build the build. That's the defining factor. To be honest,
I think okay. So I mean, in general, melee is like meant to be tanky, right? That's like the trade-off, right? I'm tanky, right? Woohoo, I'm melee. And that is true to some extent in PoE as well. Like melee builds are generally tankier for the most part, unless it's Pox's RF for some reason. I guess that's kind of melee anyway, really. It just doesn't use a sword.
Yeah.
But the problem is Sanctum doesn't give a shit about that. It's like, okay, you're melee. I don't care about your DR. Get fucked.
yeah.
Eat some
You
resolve
can be
damage.
actually immortal and just lose all your resolve.
Yeah, they need to add some form of like way to mitigate resolve if you are actually, have high mitigation. I think that would probably be the best solution, because the trade-off of being ranged in PoE is that you're squishy and you're a glass cannon, and that does not actually even matter in a Sanctum really whatsoever.
No. This regards like all forms of recovery as well, which is like you can't have like a big hit point pool and like recover that. Like it's literally just it's like you have to be slippery or it doesn't.
I do think it would make a huge deal to melee builds to make it so that like all the mobs auto attacks just didn't affect resolve. I know I said that before, but like
if you have fortified, basically, resolve, like you should like not take damage from resolve or something like that. But then everyone's just gonna play champ. So I don't know. It's just there's no way to do it.
Nice Kingmaker.
Yeah, exactly.
There must be a way to do it, but Fortify was a mistake, and I feel like this is repeating the same thing that Fortify did, right? It's trying to give an edge to melee, but it doesn't do it in a way that's exclusive to melee, because everyone can take advantage of being in melee range and using, in Fortify's case, using the ability that grant the Fortify buff, and in the case of the Sanctum, just stand next to the monsters, even though you're a ranged build. Right, sure, you can be at range, but you have the option, right? As melee, you don't have the option to be at range. And yeah.
For example, like how in like say Hades, right? Weapons you can get like a specific boon that is specific to your weapon, right? And there's on the sword you could get life gain on hit, for example. Like, wouldn't that just be a way to circumvent like the fact that if you are using a melee weapon, then you gain resolve or something like that, right? Like do you know what I mean? There
I know, but
they've designed a system around it not being possible. So it's just like they can't even solve it now. It's unsolvable. Like I don't know.
It's too late.
Yeah. So it's just the way it is, unfortunately.
It's really unfortunate because I don't personally mind that the Sanctum does favor some builds over others. What I don't like about it is that it seems to reinforce archetypes that were already strong, aka damage via proxy and damage over time. Like they're already, like Seismic Trappers were already good. Did they need to be one of the best builds to do the Sanctum with? No, but then again, it seems to be design space where it's kind of hard to grant advantages to builds that aren't already sort of in the advantage in the base game.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, you have to also remember that we're playing softcore trade. A lot of us were SSF as softcore, and that is obviously a pretty different way to play than like hardcore, right? I think hardcore melee is like a lot more viable, right? And okay, maybe it's just a product of the way softcore is built, right? It's all about speed, it's all about efficiency, it's all about money for a lot of people.
I don't
Even-
know.
I mean,
Last
even-
time I
even
checked,
there-
Seismic was also king in hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even there, it's like basically, I'm not sure. Like even even on hardcore, people make fun of Karn for being like the only Slayer left or like the only melee player left, right?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
PoE 2. PoE 2. It's gonna be solved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they need to
sure.
come up with some. I mean, I'm sure there's design space to make it good. I'm sure. I'm not 100% sold on Balor's metaphor with the real life, even though I do acknowledge that as a factor, and evidently we see that in the game. But I think there must be ways around it because ultimately, while games are always a sort of representation of real life stuff, they don't 100% follow the same rules as real life.
It's always a little more nuanced than that. That's obviously that sentence is like it's almost like a sound bite more than it is. Like it's not like there are games that have solved this, but to do that is not something Path of Exile
Nope.
can do.
I've seen it solved in Torchlight Infinite because I actually think that's a pretty good game. I played it. And Cyclone is like 90% played rate in that game. And basically it is the most tanky character, and because it has full screen Cyclone, that's all anyone plays. And the other
it's
build is also
basically
melee.
Legion.
Yeah, basically
So
Legion
this-
Cyclone.
That's
The other
not
one
a
is-
game that I would consider solved it though. So
Well,
right, like
it's solved with Cyclone, man.
yeah. Whereas games that I think have like solved the whole melee versus ranged problem are more games like Dota and League of Legends, where the reason it can be solved is because the melee characters are specifically only those melee characters, and those characters can be buffed to take less damage, have more movement speed, have more armor, have more magic resist, have more whatever is relevant for that character to keep it up with the meta or whatever's going on, right? And you can't really do that in PoE because like my
Well, they
witch
try.
could be wielding a two-handed sword and now it's a melee, and my assassin could be a melee build, or it could also be a spark build, or it could also be a trapper, or it could also be right, like that freedom sort of also makes it, I don't know if it's impossible, but it makes it a lot more difficult to balance. Whereas like the easier solution is this character is a melee character, therefore take this much less damage, have this part in your abilities, do this much more movement speed so you can close the gaps and right, like
Yeah, I mean, basically the way it was solved, like, well, the way all ARPGs seem to be trying to solve this with the range stuff is like this is also true for Torchlight Infinite, is that range builds just do no damage in that game. Like you like try and play lightning arrow in that game, and like it does no damage because that's how they decided to balance it. And then you play this other like skill, which is I think it's called like what is it called? Tuna, like flame attack, flame strike, the one which is like the big cone.
Flame Lash.
Yeah, it's like it just one shots everything because it's melee, right? And it's like, okay, you balanced melee, congrats. Like they could do that with PoE as well and just make all the melee skills do like 4 times the damage and make range feel garbage. But like there's no other way to do it other than that. You just have to make melee overtuned.
It doesn't even have to be 4 times the damage because right now melee is just doing half the damage of everything else.
Yeah, which makes no sense, right?
Like the
They need
reason
to
why
buff
Lightning
melee.
Strike was played is because you're able to double hit, right? It's like you joke and you say like, oh, because it's not melee, but like yeah, sure that too, but like there's so many other melee skills that like you know what, like how strike range is these days. You could make anything like basically like hit within like a radius that's bigger than BV, right?
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels good to play that. But yeah, I mean, like I think the problem is just a lot more than melee like the mechanics themselves. And I feel like to some degree, again, like Terraria sort of fixed that in by saying like, yeah, we're gonna give secondary effects to melee that hit like things that are not near the character, you know, like projectiles or whatever. But they're gonna do like a quarter of the damage of what you can actually do if you're actually in strike range and you're hitting it. And in that way, they've actually they made melee like balanced on par with literally everything else, right? And on top of the fact that it is tankier, which is something that melee should always be tankier. I think in most scenarios, because you're like
Yeah.
right next to something. But yeah, I mean, I could talk about this a lot. But I get like back to my like ramble about earlier. I don't think like melee necessarily has to be like melee for it to be I don't know. Like the
I'm playing a
I
melee
feel like
character this league. I got one planned. I
yeah,
don't know if it's gonna be good. It's gonna be Shift Sanctum, but I think it's gonna be a really good mapper. But we'll see.
nice.
What, you gonna do a Frozen Legion build?
Hell no, dude. That ain't me, dude. That ain't for me. That one's an interesting skill, but I ain't using that one. It's gonna be the old spin to win, I think, with the Void Force and the Flask. I think it's gonna Slayer AoE, holy AoE, spin into the
Okay.
Cyclone with the Legion.
I
can see
I
it.
might do a melee build this league as well, but it depends on whether or not I get the relic for it. I'm pretty sure all of my future builds are controlled by whatever relics I get.
Wait, what's this? What is the melee relic?
There's a strike additional nearby targets relic.
Oh, that one. Okay, so you're gonna play
That one's-
the attacks, the hitting abilities.
That one's pretty good.
How rare is it? Let's see. Right. Oh, yeah, that's pretty rare, dude.
Hey, I've already got the in-stacking one. It could happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a
Copium.
roll as well. It's got 1 to 2. I guess it's a pretty big roll as well.
I need the 2. One is
Needs the 2.
worthless to me.
Yeah, good luck. You'll be doing some sanctums. Anyway.
Yep.
All right. I had this up for a while on the screen. The Hour of Divinity, unique sanctified sensor relic. The Herald of the Scourge drops 2 additional sanctified relic. Or sensor relic is not sanctified, right? That's like just a... Never mind. It is a unique relic, but it's not a sanctified one. But it causes additional sanctified relics to drop from the Herald of the Scourge, which is... That's the fourth floor boss? Grimro?
That is not the secret boss, but the 4th floor boss, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
But the relic also...
optional end.
The relic also makes it impossible for you to have boons. And it's a one-time use relic, as it is destroyed when your sanctum ends.
Yeah.
So basically, this is just run a sanctum without boons and with 2 fewer slots in your relic thing. And you get 2 additional sanctified relics if you finish it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty good. I think pretty much everyone's going to end up running these every single time. It's going to make it a little harder, but, if you got a good build for it and you got some good relics, I think it's going to be more fun and obviously more rewarding. I think the one which is most interesting, though, is the other one that they showed, which gives you an invitation.
How reliable? Yeah, I'll bring that up. But while I do that, how reliably can you finish a sanctum when you can't have boons at all? You just have to be careful with what afflictions you get, or
Depends on your build.
It depends on your build, your gear level, and also your relics. I think in a hypothetical world where I had the best relics, like I could literally edit them, and I had like all my gear, I'm pretty sure it's as long as I don't mess up, like 2-head, haha, you got hit by that. I'm pretty sure it's 100% clear rate. So yeah, I think you could definitely easily farm them consistently.
all right. Wait, where are the? I can only find this one. Here's another one. Where did they post the previous one?
Should be a news post.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna find it. Never mind. Announcements here. Yeah, Sanctum content update. There it is. There we got it. The Gilded Chalice Professional Relic. There we go.
This is the more interesting one, I think, because it's build enabling without RNG and also adds like serious monetary incentive to do the Sanctum on the hardest difficulty.
What's an additional invocation?
If you scroll down.
Oh, right, the invocations.
It's a consumable. It's a consumable item which essentially adds a keystone to any relic that you have.
I want all of them.
Yeah, so
What?
I think the one that's shown there is Magebane, which obviously, Jesus.
There's
Christ,
one for
that's
every
crazy.
keystone in the game?
Oh, we don't know that. We don't know that.
That doesn't say account bound.
Yeah, that's right. You can sell it basically. So
you can buy them and then put them to your account bound sanctified relic.
Yes,
Okay.
but you now it's basically gonna be like running lab, right? You're gonna like that's probably gonna be like two I'd say at least 2 divines, right? Surely more. When you get it, and that's gonna be pretty powerful, man. That's basically spell suppression capped on a lot of builds.
Cheesy. See, that's exactly why I don't want, like, why I hated that it's so powerful and it goes away, because you build a build and then, like, after it's gone, the build falls apart. The build, like, rests so hard on these sanctified things.
Do you play standard or something?
No, I don't. I know what you mean.
Well-
And builds fall apart all the time. Like, all my old builds don't work anymore because they changed some interaction or they changed some item or something like that. So it's, like, completely just in my mind. I know it, but I don't know. I'm like,
I think what would be most interesting though is if there's obviously multiple different ones. I'm really curious to see if there's one which like duplicates the currency or something like that. Like if there's like a relic which makes it insanely hard, but it duplicates all the currency you get, that would be like really cool. In addition to that, it's also worth noting where these come from. So they come from the secret boss every time you kill it. So after you kill it once, you'll basically be able to sustain these infinitely. Obviously not the one that you want every single time, but you know, you can do a challenging one every single time, which makes it way more rewarding.
Pog.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
No inspiration and no resolve recovery seems spicy. Can't wait to see that run.
Get fucked, Balor. Your relics don't work.
I can do the whole run. I don't take any damage the whole run ever.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm not. I don't have a problem. Listen, this is how I have always approached the game because I am a Pepega idiot and I cannot do mechanics. So what I do is I make builds that make me not have to care.
You should actually make a build guide for that, honestly. Because
I am.
think a lot of people would like that one.
There'll be a showcase basics video tomorrow, probably. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's already there, probably. And then there'll be quite a bit more.
I think the more people who are trying to do that, the better. Because, like, you know, back in Legion, the people who found the Ice Nova build, like that, everyone loved that, right? They were like, "Oh, finally, we can do the Legions." You know, someone needs to make a build like that, which is cheap and affordable.
Right now, it costs like 25-30 divines.
That's pretty high.
After you make the video, it's going to be triple.
I think I can make a version of it work on 5 or less.
Do you need to be poison SOS? Doesn't hit base suffice?
No.
Or is it so much better?
I mean, if you've got 30 divines, you need to be poison or you're wasting your time. But I think on 5 to 8-ish, you're not poison yet. And I think it would still function the same. Just instead of 30 million DPS, you'll have 8 million DPS, which is probably still enough.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure someone will come up with something insane. Maybe it's you, Bella. We'll see. Ooh. This
build is a white whale. This doesn't exist. This does everything, and it does everything on a reasonable amount of. It clears too fast. It bosses too fast. It's too tanky. This is everything. This is the holy grail.
All right, log in. Can't wait to recommend it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I need that video.
I did all my invitations except feared because I just forgot. At level 70.
Damn. Okay.
On the reroll, and with level 16 gems, I didn't buy new gems. The gems I was leveling with, I used those. I rolled them to 80% quant. I was level 70.
Yeah, sounds like a banger, man.
Yeah, it's just stupid. It's stupid.
Gamer build.
All right. So we still had a little bit of time left. What do you guys want to talk about? We want to go a little bit more into the Atlas meta. We all a little bit afraid that the Eldritch Altar rework was going to be a significant nerf. And now, how do you feel about it?
You might hear Grim and me clash a little bit on this because we love to disagree, and I actually love that about me and Grimro. So I'd like to hear his take first.
I think it's really good. I like Exarch. I don't like Eater Worlds. That's fine. Exarch is like really, really fun though. I love that you get so much currency for basically nothing. You just can run maps. Like you literally just put anything in, man, run it, bam, you get currency and you get rewarded. Like if you're just like some guy who wants to log on, do 10 maps, after work, you can get like 40 or 50 C, like raw C, or some compasses you can sell. You can sustain all your materials. You get some scarabs. It's just great. I think it's really good for the majority of the play base, and it makes it a lot easier to make strats which just work.
I completely agree with that. Actually, absolutely
You
agree.
did.
There's there's okay. So
Take was too
I
based.
I feel like the disparity between Eater World and Searing Exarch is like, sure, I get the fact that it's like there's a chase thing on Eater World and there's also a chase thing on Searing Exarch, whatever. But feeling forced into a specific influence is like, I personally feel like it's not really like something that I enjoy too much. As much as I enjoy the rewards on Eater Worlds, and I enjoy the rewards on Searing Exarch. I'm a Searing Exarch since like literally I got my first divine drop and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's way too rare. But so I just don't like because I like Eater World. I prefer running that over Searing Exarch, but there's no reason to run it. Like you say, like, oh, but the divines, like, yeah, but you can literally get like head-hunter cards from Searing Exarch. So and that's like probably even more common. Like overall, like you're just gonna make way more currency. Like even if you're not getting a head-hunter card, you are getting like so much, and you don't have to buy all your materials. You just literally self-sustaining, and you're making so much more currency overall, right?
You have to buy materials for either, or what am I getting?
Yeah, because it does not drop sextants, it doesn't drop chisels, it doesn't drop vials. Like
Oh, that's what you mean, right? Right.
it's like you can't run it. Like if you want to play the game normally, you can't run it. And
It'll balance out because the Ikkies will go to the moon, right? And the Screaming Invitation will be more expensive. But it's just still going to be Pain Champ running that, right?
yeah, but it's not even like you think it's like that, but it's not, right? Like the Ickers cost nothing right now, and
Yeah.
they're on par with each other. And the Invitation still, the Searing Exarch one costs more. And it's funny because
To the Omni.
and also the Forbidden Flames cost more for some reason,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know. The only saving grace for Eater World is like the Nimbus ring, maybe. But even
That
then,
ring's nuts.
So
yeah,
I
it's
did-
amazing for sure.
I did
But-
all day yesterday on red altars and all day today on blue altars. I don't even know how to pick. I actually think
Get the
they're both
pitchforks.
really
This
good.
guy's. I don't know, man. What the hell did you like the blue altars? Huh?
Yeah, it's
But
unplayable.
the blue
for me.
altars have all the divines in them.
What divines? I got it
Yeah,
once, and I got like 2 million kills.
I've got 6 divines today off that one. I got and I got a boss kill 3 divines one, and I've already had the other day when I was progressing a boss kill 3 divines one.
It's
I mean,
like
you
1 in
just-
1,000, man.
You can do the math. Yeah, like you actually can just math it out, right? By multiplying the weights and like the percentages
Yeah.
by the currency amounts and all sorts of stuff like that. And if you
Okay.
actually do that, Exarch absolutely takes a steaming shit on Eater of Worlds.
Yeah,
man.
like it's not even close.
If you
dude.
actually math it
how
out,
much how much did you value a divine at when you made that? Because they're
it's like
already
200.
210
No,
and they're
it's
gonna hit
insane.
250.
I mean, like,
It's like,
Oh,
dude, like
okay.
sextants on their own will like make way more than
But
your
then-
divine shrine alone.
But then also
actually, that's what my
I can
friend said.
take
Awaken Sextant
any
just beats Divine.
downside. I can take any downside on the blue one, and the mobs not dangerous at all. On the red side, you have to be immune to burning ground, or that'll insta kill you.
Pantheon, just use the Pantheon. That's easy.
There's 1,200 damage meteors that jump down every time you use a flask.
Don't
so
take the
if you're not
global
using
altars.
mage blood.
It doesn't give you any rewards anyway. The global altars are bad unless you're doing quant stacking.
Yeah.
And then there's what? Chaos Degen as well.
That's a global
It's a
altar as well. Don't even
altar
take
as
that.
well. Yeah.
Is it? Are they both?
Yeah.
Are all the ones I hate global altars?
Yeah.
Yep, just don't take it.
It's
The
the ones
only
I have
thing-
to take for expedition, but like I just like I look at the altar for a second, I'm like, all right, I'm safe. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
I still screw up and it's like, oh, my character's bricked. But you
I
know,
don't know, maybe I've just been way too lucky with the blue one.
I
Because
mean,
I've hit
keep-
2 boss divines and 1 trash divine already.
I mean, someone has to run it, right? Like, I mean, also like if you're having fun, that's like the main part. Like, PoE's a video game, right? Like, why not have some fun?
yeah, for sure. But like, why do you make us pick? Why couldn't you just like I like the blue guy, but I don't like buying sextants. You know, I don't know.
You should just run it, Tuna, because like when everyone was like talking shit about the red guy, like I just ran the red guy anyway, right? I don't care because I don't like how the blue guy, his mobs have lag when they spawn. I like the red
Yeah,
guy's
that's
instant mobs.
true as well. That's true as well. Like it's got its upside and downsides, but I don't know. I liked it better how it was before when we had. The reason why we wanted to run one was because we wanted to run one. You know,
Hmm.
like
I
like
mean-
I'm sorry, maybe I got like too much of a shoe size IQ and monkey neuron activation, but I can't run one if it, it doesn't give me shit. You know.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
pretty despaired when
Yeah.
you're doing the alt, isn't it? It's literally like 20
Alt.
maps in, you've got like alteration and fusing. It's like
Jules, dude. Oh
It's
Can you
man.
get regrets and
No,
No,
you
you
can't.
can't.
That's off Exile.
unmakings?
Nope,
No,
that's off
that's
Exile
red bar.
too.
Is it?
Yep.
Yep.
Everything is there, man. Everything. It's crazy. It's
I
not
need
even
to
like
see the list. Am I just fucking living in a fantasy world?
Or
Yeah,
you just
blue
like
is-
the final
Divines
boss.
like a stupid amount of times.
The only thing Eater has is Scours and Wriggles. That's it.
No.
He has
No,
chromatics.
That's all he's-
That's all he has on my
damn.
altars. 4 additional
Yep.
chromatics from the final boss. That's what I get from Eater.
It's like Chromatics, Jewelers, Fusings, Regals, Scours.
Are you looking at this? Where did you see this? DB?
I made a spreadsheet. Watch the video, Balor.
Oh man, you. Yeah, all right. No, you're right. I normally do too.
PvDB will tell you like, oh, Searing Exarch has divines, and then you go look at the weight and it's 0. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have divines, but it says so, right? Like, so you can get debated by that, but yeah. So I mean, that's one thing that I don't like. But just to move on from this point about like red versus blue or whatever, right? Why is it that it seems like they keep tying more and more of our like rewards directly to like it has to like you have to click something and then it's I don't know, it becomes less
Tiled
so,
rewards is
yeah, it becomes less so about like I don't
it's
know,
to
like
devalue quantum party
investing-
farming.
Like I understand that, but it devalues all kinds of like map investment, no?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a substantial incentive now to go faster than like thicker, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Alk and go.
Alk and go, Exarch
Because
and go.
they already also specified aside for pack size, which is the only way now that you can actually increase the rewards from the altars, it's either 20 to 60 packs, right? And that's it. So it's literally like it doesn't matter if you put like deadly orbs and all that stuff. Actually, you're disincentivized to do that because of how league mechanics work and how they have specific places to spawn. And if you were to put more league mechanics in your map, you will get less altars.
Okay, look,
that-
the jury's still out on
there's a
that one.
lot.
Although I can tell you certain maps spawn more influence monsters. I tested that extensively. It's
Yep.
okay, so like a map like Underground Sea has more monster nodes, so you can spawn more of the 20 packs that you would otherwise spawn. If you go on, like, for example, City Square, even if you roll a 60, you'll maybe still only get 36 because there's not enough monster spawn nodes.
Yeah.
So the main thing you want to
Same
do
with
is run a
all-
big map.
Right.
Yeah. More big is more better.
So they're I don't know what their technical name for it is, but I've been calling them anchor points.
Yeah, something like that. I call them the
And
nodes.
Yeah, so it's the anchor points are the points at where you regularly see the breach, the strongbox, the league mechanic. That you notice the more you run of a map that there are like specific points where those things always exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
Tuna seems to think that anchor points like between monsters and league mechanics are shared. So I do not actually share that opinion. My opinion is that monsters have a separate one, but that is not something that we actually know whether or not it's
So-
true.
Monsters definitely have a separate one, because monsters are in areas that you have never, ever, ever seen a strongbox in your entire life.
Yes, I agree with that statement. That was also one of my proof points, but yeah, I mean, okay, there is mechanics which reduce the amount of monsters, though, for sure. Ritual, domination, and stuff like that actually do remove packs from the map. That is 100% a fact. So it's like kind of like probably like a hybrid between what me and Tuna are both like arguing about here. I think it's probably a mix of both. But yeah,
I know, like-
I know for a fact that if you get a deli mirror and you run the deli mirror, you will 1000% get less altars. It's just fact.
I tested it. I don't know, man. I tested it, dude. But okay, fair enough. I
But-
tested it on white maps.
I
with
live in the fog, Grim.
I
Here's the
tested
thing,
it
though.
though.
That
I
doesn't
don't
make
know,
any
it's just-
sense, though,
it's-
because the only anchor point that would matter is where the mirrors spawn.
No,
Okay.
because I think the point of it is that like there's other anchor points which are also like spawn points and stuff, right?
All right, we're getting in the weeds here. I think it's like
This is like some
I
conspiracy
don't know.
level stuff.
I'm with
We're
Grimro
not,
here.
like,
This doesn't make
podcast
sense to
material.
me. I don't think this is a thing.
Okay, so basically a good way to wait. What I figured out. So I tested like tons of different maps, right? And I actually literally so I tested control white maps. I tested with influence, and I counted the monsters with incubators, and then I tested with Delhi, and then I tested with influence and Delhi. And I actually so it's basically influence is 30% of the mobs in the map are basically going to be influence. It's about a 30% more. So if you do atoll, you're basically getting like no influence mobs versus if you do underground sea. And Deliobs went the same way. It's about 30% more mobs if you pop the pods, the fungus, right?
Yeah.
And it perfectly lined up. So when I did both at the same time, it was 60% more mobs. So I don't know what to tell you, but overall, like from my testing, you're not reducing your amount of mobs by using daily orbs. I don't know about the mirror,
No, not
but the
mobs,
orbs.
altars.
Yeah, but the altars are just a byproduct of slaying the influence mobs.
Altars don't
I mean-
respect anchor points at all. They just pop up wherever
But they
you
have to-
killed the
they have
mob
to
at
pop
every
up on
roll.
an anchor point.
They
I
don't
don't know,
know.
man. It's it doesn't matter. Just slay some monsters, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
I mean,
be fair,
yeah.
neither you could both be right now, though, by the way. Because
Theoretically.
the way Grim tested that may have just not ended up with enough mobs in the map to cause an overflow
True.
problem.
That is actually true. I was running the white on purpose.
'Cause
to
I
have
run the
control.
upper end of juice, and it just instantly, it's like 9-day. You know, it's like
Yeah.
going from
Yeah,
like 7 to 8 altars to going to like 1, 2 per map.
Yeah,
That's
like
actually-
you
that is
could
actually a good
theoretically
point.
both be right there. Like,
'Cause the thing which I'm not sure about though, because like you remember back in like pre-ritual and ritually where you would like put like the amount of mobs in the map and like it would literally be the entire canyon would just be mobs, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
yeah.
literally the entire thing. Like that amount of density like has to kind of disprove that a little bit because like surely like the entire map is mobs, right? There's
But
like
it
enough
also
anchor
wasn't
points.
league mechanics at the time, was it? Now we have like so many league mechanics. Like we get into the point where you can get like 11 breaches or some shit.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, that is true. And yeah, I did actually discover that like on City Square, like if you have too many strong boxes, it just doesn't spawn anymore.
Yeah. It gets rid of them. Like it just completely munches them. And I think it's the exact thing happening to the altars. That like, yeah, you
Potentially.
could kill the mobs, but like it has no anchor point to spawn. You know, it's just like okay.
But there is a solution. You just have to run a big enough map like burial chambers, and then it's like fine, right?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know.
I've been
like
running
I mostly
burial.
just
I
base
can't
everything off
suggest
of maps that are good
Customers.
with Delimirrors, right? So it would have to be like Strand or Tropical Island or Jungle Valley. That's what I base my
Promenade, it's all
research
right.
on.
Okay, yeah.
I've
Yeah,
been
it's just Promenade sucks. That's all. That's why I don't run it.
two,
Yeah.
2 straight days I've been running burials. I want to go back in. It's not.
You need to be
it's not the way.
playing a bow build basically, otherwise it sucks.
Yeah, burials is. It's just look. I have like heat-seeking fireballs that auto target. It's just there's so much empty space. I
If you
don't
got
know.
juice, it sucks. Yeah.
I think I'm going back to underground.
Underground Sea, that's a pretty good map. Kind of one of the best for sure.
Yeah.
The one actually which I've been running is Lair. It's one of the fastest
Lair?
ways to run. It drops Farrell's fur cut, it drops the scout, and also drops a bunch of other stuff. And it's just really fast to get.
Yeah.
Okay, it's really bad for Legion and Breach and stuff like that. But it's like a straight shoot, and it's got 580 mob count, which means it's got a pretty good altar density, and it's really good for speed farming.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
actually thinking of a map to try. I might try out there.
It's okay. I think, yeah. I mean, as long as like, okay, I tried Toxic Sewer first, and like as a bow build, it was not great.
Yeah.
But Lair has just enough width where it's like, okay, the projectiles actually function normally. They function correctly. So
And there's that like little
yeah.
backtrack area that you don't even have to do it. You just skip it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do it because I have the belt, and it's like takes 1 second. But yeah, you don't have to do it. Yeah.
And Toxic's really good on bows if you're still lightning arrow. Like before you
Sure,
go
if you're
tornado
lightning
shot, it's great. When you go
Yeah,
tornado shot, it's
But it's pretty rippy, right? Like Toxic Sewer is like if you get like a Beyond boss or something like that, it's like yeah, good night, you're dead. At least once, one death, unless you're like one tapping that shit because you can't run away and kite it.
What's the general verdict on Shitty Square?
City Square. Okay, so this one is since I did the testing on the alt attack, it's like okay, you probably shouldn't run this anymore because you just get substantially less alters, which sucks. And also, it's really hard to sustain maps, and maps are worth a fortune. However, there probably is going to be some tech there and a strat there with Harbingers and Metamorph, the two together. I imagine that probably will be pretty good, but I don't know. The Metamorph nodes, I don't exactly know if they're going to be good or not. Maybe, but they're kind of weird, man.
They look pretty good.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Did
I've
they
heard
change a
people
lot about them?
Yeah,
They're pretty
they
good.
changed quite a bit. Yeah, they made
I
them
think you're
more
gonna need a-
rewarding, and
I think you're going to need a juiced character to do Metamorph.
There's
Absolutely.
nodes which actually make it easier.
yeah, even my BV character could do it, and it has like no single target. It's just
So
you ramp
the-
up a bit, and then it dies. I don't
The
know.
reason I say that is because, as far as I can tell right now, a bunch of the Metamorphs are bugged. And they don't
Oh.
appear to have any cooldown on quite a few of their different abilities.
Yeah, I mean-
So they're just spamming things very, very, very quickly.
That shit was always cooked, man. It always just felt so unfair fighting them. But you know, if you just put your totems down and run away, you know, okay, that's good enough. Yeah.
I feel like if you know what ability does what and stuff like that, you can do some fair risk and reward management on
So-
Metamorphs. But I've definitely killed myself to Metamorphs more often than I'd like to admit, so don't take my
So-
advice.
For instance, I think it's Temple, the map Temple, where he's got that. The boss has like a bunch of beams of light that come down from the sky. There's like 4 or 5 of them, and they just sort of like move around, and they're just little
Automation.
fire beams.
Automation?
It might have been. I can't remember, but it's little fire beams that come down from the sky, and there's like 4 or 5 of them. It's like one of the map boss mechanics. I thought it was Temple, but it could have been another map. The Metamorph from that map had, best as I could tell you, 75 of those pillars down at once.
Oh jeez, okay, that's not good.
When I say no cooldown, I mean spamming the abilities.
Yeah, that's pretty yikes.
I mean, like you're just like just the whole screen was just fire beams moving around.
That's rough. Yeah, tough.
Yeah, that's Metamorph could be an issue if that is a thing that keeps happening. We've had it 3 or 4 times so far, and none of us are spec'd into Metamorph. We just weren't blocking it. And we had it several times on several different maps with several different bosses. We had one that was mirror sharding itself, except it was constant, and there was always about 45 of them on the screen, and we could never tell which one was the right one.
Yeah, just report the bug. Make sure you report that so they can fix it, right?
Yeah.
You actually
yeah,
do that? You report bugs?
Hell
Yeah.
no. Somebody does, and then they get fixed.
I report sometimes.
I've never done that.
I did report a bug once. The one bug I reported was way back in the day. I can't remember what map it was, but the worm barrels, dude. Whenever I would shoot a worm barrel, it would crash me, and I was losing my mind because back then in my day, you had to put sextants on, and like you would roll the worm barrels, and it was like one of the best ones, right? And you wouldn't want to roll over it, and you couldn't even tell it was the worm barrel because it said mysterious barrels. It was just like every time I did, I just crashed. Yeah,
Actually, now that I think about it, I have reported about maybe 5 bugs, but most of them were like delve related.
Yeah. I mean, if you
But
don't report them, who's going to report
If
them?
you type them on the forums, I just feel like you're getting donut walled for the most part. It's like you're just like writing something inside of like
Chatting.
you're just chatting and then yeah, have you seen how many like threads there are? Like it
Yeah,
actually goes
it's
through
rough, man.
everything. I don't know.
I don't know.
A question from chat, which I'm also curious about. What do you guys think of the new Abyss nodes? The ones that make your abysses lead to more pits if they don't lead to abyssal depths, basically. And there's also a chance to spawn all monsters at least as magic.
Oh, you mean the new Delirium nodes? Hell yeah, man, those are sick. The new Delirium nodes are awesome.
What about the new Delirium nodes?
No,
No,
that's
I mean,
what those
What
are.
it means is like they juice Deli a lot, and
They're for delirium.
yeah.
yeah, they're
Ah.
only good for delirium. Like that's all you take them for.
Well, I mean, it's
So,
good anyway outside of delirium
Yeah.
as well, right?
Oh,
Just
I mean, like,
additional monsters in your map. Good shit.
No, I mean like the game is now literally like monsters are for XP unless you have like rarity or something. But even then, like MF is like a little scuffed. At least last league you were incentivized to add monsters to your map, because of goblins, right? So the last league these nodes would have been insane.
Well,
for
goblins
goblin
still
farming.
exist.
No, not exactly. Like I
Not
mean,
in the same way. True.
you're not incentivized enough to actually juice your maps to farm those things because it's like a lot more expensive to juice than it is to get like to what the returns are. But yeah, essentially like it's basically just fodder for delirium. Essentially, that's all it is, and for XP. In that regard, it's really good. But yeah, in terms of like rewards, it's just mobs, right? Mobs don't like if they're not influence mobs, which is kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier with like, what do you guys think about like the fact that it's just all the loot is now literally condensed onto percent chance to drop from influence monsters. It's like if it doesn't have that anymore, you need to be farming like the mechanic itself, and the mechanic of Abyss is the chest, right? So like the rewards in the chest, they're not good enough to actually make Abyss a good mechanic outside of it being fodder for Delhi.
There's a
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't actually realize that wouldn't like land with some people. But yeah, so like to actually answer your question, the nodes are insane for delirium, right? You can hit untold levels of delirium rewards on the mirror and on the orbs now. It's actually crazy. So orbs are like way better to run now than they ever have been. And that's because of those nodes. And you would absolutely not be caught dead without them these days, basically running any of the delirium strats. Unless, I mean, maybe Tuna has a case for not running Abyss. I'm not really sure, but I feel like I would take it every time.
The only reason you wouldn't is like potentially if like you have too many of them and you can't keep up with the Delimir or something, right? So it's build dependent in that case. But no, like if you're doing Delimir, it's like if you don't have Breach or Abyss, then you're trolling, basically.
But
I mean,
on the
you
other
want the
hand,
both, right?
yeah. On the other hand, Breach actually is viable as a strat. I don't know if it's going to be good later on in the league, but like at least earlier on, people were using it to farm the belt, and that's because obviously you can pull like hundreds and hundreds of splinters out of a single map now efficiently, and you can get full stones and all sorts of stuff like that. But the thing I didn't consider, and I think a lot of people didn't consider, is that you get the chosen divination card, like many of them per map, and that gives you a ton of skin of the loyals. Which are either at worst fusings or at best divine orbs if you can get a good colored one, or corrupt one into something which is like +1 or something like that. I think Tuna's build both of them use that. So yeah,
you should blessing every single one of them, no matter what the colors. I've never sold one for less than 60 chaos.
There you go, dude.
Yeah, I loved those.
I think beyond what is it? Breach is in a fantastic spot. It's in a really good spot. Yeah, it's like honestly, it's really good. The volume of breach stones that you can get from it if you juice it, it's really good. But again, it's like flat rewards, and that's the only reason why it works. Because
there in the background is that metamorph, by the way. That's the metamorph that we found earlier. There was been a few like that just it's
shit. I don't have the stream
absolute busted.
They need to make it so that the split modifier doesn't work with metamorphs. At least not with the special abilities. I mean, it's fine if you fight multiple versions of the same metamorph, but if they all use their special boss abilities that are meant to be like one ability used at one specific time, this is a little bit nutty. And it also hurts my eyes.
My character was very, very tanky.
It looks so cool, though.
I just stood in the middle and just waited until they died. Life gain on hit, by the way, with lightning arrow and that many mobs, you're immortal if you don't get one shot.
Hell yeah, man. I think what else was there? That didn't really change much else, right? I mean, they buffed the hell out of Legion and Delirium. Legion of is obviously like insane, but it was already good. They just made it better. I'm not sure why, but I'll take it. Delirium, it's like substantially better, but like there's only really one really insane node, and that's the one which gives you an extra tile when you kill the boss.
Imagined Pursuits.
It's a really big deal,
Yeah.
but the other one I think it could have been better. The one which gives you like Deliobs per unique mob, that one probably needed to be closer to 5% chance off it per unique, but it is what it is.
The additional reward on map completion, I guess that's good for orbs, right? When you stack in like skittering, yeah, it's pretty good.
I thought it was
But I think like the small loads leading up to it is like way better. Like 10% chance to provide increased reward progress. Like basically it's 10% increased reward progress for the small ones. And it's 20% on the way to that node. I think those are even better than the Keystone, right? When I saw the Keystone, I was like, yeah, that's good, but the small nodes are like, okay.
It's like the cherry on top there, right? Like, like it's like exponentially harder to get the next reward, everything, and then at the end you just bam, another tick. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then there is heist, but I don't want to talk about that because I'm gonna make a video on it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say about high stock leave, but your high stock arrive.
Well, not farming heist.
You don't have to run heist though.
You just farm the things and sell them.
Pick stuff up and sell them to heisters. That's fine.
I mean, it's I mean, I think it's mainly for Sanctum spammers because you just click some chests and it's like he has so much money for that. But yeah,
I see. Yeah, expedition is as good as always, right? Basically, you can get a shitload of percentage of additional expedition encounter chance in maps.
I think all of the mechanics which take time, like Blight, Expedition, those ones are comparatively worse to the ones which scale with clear speed, like Delhi and Legion, just purely from the fact that alters exist. I mean, that's not going to matter for most people, but at the high end, if you're like looking for the best, that's going to matter.
Yeah, if you take a mechanic
because all of the altars, the ones that you skip, are like insane for Expedition, right? Or insane for Harvest, for example. Like you take like 3 quantity shrines and you do 1 expedition and you're dropping like 90 chaos. And yeah, it slows you down an extra like minute per map, but once you've streamlined the process of looking at the remnants, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Like you need to get used to it, and then it blasts. Like you drop a logbook, a Sun one, that's 70C, man. You drop like 5 Tujin coins, that's already like 25. Like, and you do that like every map, and it's literally free. Like you don't.
But that's a different approach then, right? Because like earlier we said that you kind of want to avoid the global modifiers on the, or did I misunderstand that?
Well, if you're steering Exarch, you have to be careful of it because it could literally break your build, right? So that means that you have to take like an extra half a second reading it or get used to seeing like. So for example, when I look at an altar, I'm not even really reading it. I'm looking at like the size of the altar and the text at this point. Yeah, I mean we're getting to that point.
Damn, dude.
You just look at the text.
Some like Google AI image recognition shit right there.
I mean, because like you're in maps, like things are dangerous. You can't really read. But I still mess that up sometimes.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Alice passive tree is overall in a really good place. The only thing which I think is missing is some way to. Okay, so there's one thing which I think is missing, and that is Beyond should be part of the 10. It should be the 11th, and there should be way more nodes for Beyond, and there should be ways to scale into that type of playstyle. The juicing playstyle. Sure, Tuna can talk your ear off about that, but I think that's the one thing the game is missing right now, a mechanic that scales exponentially. Snap also talks about that. There needs to be something for the people who want to play in parties and who want to invest like 100 chaos in a map, because right now that's just not really there. And that is Beyond. They just need to bring it back to some extent. Even if they make it like really hard, like really, really hard, that's something that needs to be coming back.
Before anyone gets upset at that, because someone's gonna, we're also not asking for like it back the way it was with that much scaling. We just think they overslid that knob of how much investment are you allowed to put in. It used to be infinitely scaling, and now it's actually not worth your time. So like if it could just go into the middle somewhere, that would be.
I mean, to clarify, I don't play that way, right? Like
Yeah.
Tuna always makes fun of me and says I play as Grim and Go because I play
I
this
don't
like
make
mid
fun of you.
investment.
Grim and Go, yo, I love
I play
that,
like it's not alcogo and it's not juicing. It's like use like 3
It's in
polished
between.
scarabs and a couple compasses. That's how I play. So
I make fun of the fact that you used to call it Al can go, and it's like, yo, what is up, guys? I'm gonna roll my sextants. I'm gonna use my scarab. Today's Al can go. So I was like, that ain't Al can go. That's Grim and Go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like it's. I think like PoE is a game which is like at its best when everyone has something that they enjoy doing, and right now I do believe that there's like a subsection which are not being catered to, but
It is the last year. That is what I've been doing up until very recently. Is I do super juiced maps, MFing 80, 100% delirious, just as a solo player, not as like snapping MPs. Big six, man. I've had to abandon that to have fun because that does not work. It does not
Unfortunately,
work.
I feel like one of the big reasons for me, it's like sure, like the profit, whatever. Like I don't really give a shit. Like I just loved my character growing with buffs and that shit feeling great. Like now it's like less so the reason to do that. And when you do that, like you're still not making much money. So it's just like it's just pain champ. I don't know. It's like it's not how it used to feel. And on top of that, I'm not making money. So it's like nice.
yeah, I mean, like it is what it is, right? That's how it goes.
Yeah.
I have a suspicion that it's not coming back ever because it does do something to the economy, which is pretty unhealthy. So it is what it is.
Just gotta adapt, I guess. But I would love to see at least,
It doesn't
form
need to
of,
come
like,
back. Basically, what Balor said doesn't need to come back to the completely economy destroying sort of thing. It just needs to be something that people don't feel is a complete waste of their time.
I think
it
it
needs
honestly,
to be a viable alternative to solo mapping or bossing stuff.
You could fix it with one node, in my opinion, maybe 2, to get exactly what Tuna wants. So there needs to be a Beyond node which says multiple Beyond bosses can spawn per map, but 200% more life on Beyond mobs or something like that. And
every subsequent boss has 200% more life.
Yeah, something crazy like that. So you can go like full on just and
or Beyond
get
boss
in there
doesn't spawn at all.
I would settle for doesn't spawn.
Yeah, whatever you want, right? Like some like big downside with the upside of having a lot more juice. And then in addition to that, you obviously probably want some form of kill streak item to come back to the game, or some way to make it feel good for like going crazy in a map.
Because Beyonds right now are like just magic and normal monsters as well. It's like it doesn't feel like killing them is worth it. Aside from maybe the tainted currency, right? But that's like I don't know. The drop rate on those is like questionable, not worth. In the sense of like in terms of like juicing, right? Like if you're all going or like whatever, it's giga, it's good. It's like getting that solid. But if you're like juicing, it's like you don't want that shit. It's not about that.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's about like like getting more mobs and then multiplying the whole like basically stuff dropping and stuff. But like they don't really drop much at all. They're just fodder at this point as well for like Delimir or whatever you're farming.
Right. Okay. Well, so there's definitely still ways to invest into tiles, and there's a ways, if I understand correctly, there's ways to invest into monsters, but the general usefulness of like increasing the quantity of monsters in your map is not there unless
for altars.
Delirium basically.
Yeah, I mean no, for altars specifically, it's insane. Like getting pack size, so like Chisel out volleying, getting 40 pack size, and then getting like up to like 80, 90 pack size. That increases the amount of influence monsters, right? And when you click a shrine that says Awakened Sextants or Scarabs, and then you do like one that duplicates that, it's like your map's literally looking like they're the only things that drop loot basically outside of when you do an expedition or when you do a breach or whatever, right? Everything else is just filler.
I mean, people say that, but I do think that's a little hyperbolic. Like sometimes you do just like shoot a box and there's a divine orb in it. That does still happen.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, of course. But
For the most
out of
part,
like
yeah.
the whole grand scheme of things, like realistically, like that's maybe less than 5% of all your money, even less than that, right?
Yeah, 10 to 5%, I would say, is probably how much is in the base map. Yep, I would agree.
That sounds accurate. I'm okay with that number. Not that I keep spreadsheets.
I mean, we didn't get to talk about it. I mean, maybe we still will. I don't know if we don't have enough time, but I think honestly, the most exciting thing for me about this patch, like, is the new uniques actually, and the potential for builds. It's just such a shame they're so expensive though, because I really wish that they had been more accessible so that more people could play with them, because I actually do think that's the big fun factor this time. Specifically the Nimbus Ring and the Flask. I think those are going to be really big. I've played with a Flask a little bit myself, and it is true explode, and it's a lot of fun. I think if you can scale that up, on a really good build, a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with it. It's just, if only it was cheaper, man.
So, do you remember Ashes and Omni when they first came out? I wish they did shit like that almost always. You know how it was super common for one league, everyone gets to play with it, and if it's a disgustingly powerful item that you want rare, dial its rarity back the following league. I think that would be great.
Because like the Flask is like 25 divines right now for bad roll, and I know as soon as Tuna makes his BB build, that shit's going to the moon. Like as soon as people say it, it's going to the moon, man. So it's just such a shame.
From the I prefer Fizz Explode, but the Flask is gonna be good on other things that I make. It's definitely like insane, It's yeah. And I think also the Nimbus, and also there's other things that are really good too. The like Ben's Flask is very good. The amulet, someone just gotta yet find a really good use for it, but it's gonna be very good too. But yeah, overall I feel like the uniques are definitely pretty sweet as. I like them a lot. That's one of the main draws for me for builds and for the league itself in general.
Yeah. I'd love to get my hand on one of these flasks, but that's
I know.
that's
Wouldn't it
a
be
while
great
out.
if everyone could just have them? It should have been as common as a series Flask for this league. That would have been like the true fun factor there.
It would be ridiculous. I mean, it does have to have some sort of exclusivity to it to feel as good.
I don't think it does the first league. Just like Omni and Ashes did, everyone could get one. You wanted a really well rolled Omni, it was like fucking 2 divines. You need an Ashes? Here's a decent roll one, fucking 1.5 divines. And then the next league, there were like 40. Right? Like that's fine. Do that. Balance the rarity later. I think you put them in, they can just give them to everyone. Just fucking hand them out.
I think the difference is a little bit harsh. The transition of like letting people build a build around like a very build enabling and defining unique such as Omni, and then having people plan for doing that build again. And then, I mean, I guess maybe it's also lack of communication because we didn't know how rare they're going to be. But
the difference is we weren't expecting it. If they said straight up, this thing we did, we're going to make a habit of this moving forward. When we put in new powerful things, we're going to have them, the league they come out, be pretty damn common. Expect them all to get super rare the following league. Like we will balance rarity to where we think that item belongs, but the next league, I think that would be a fantastic thing for them to do just generically. Plus, it also gives you like one league where like 150,000 people are trialing this item to find all the broken things with it. And if there are things you don't want them to be doing, you can find them the first month they're out because everyone's playing with it, right?
Yeah. I think that's true. Well, I mean, it is what it is, right? Like there's a lot of accessible currency strats. Like you can pretty much do any strat you want these days, and it's like pretty good money. Like even Ritual is really good. It's a pretty good time to be playing PoE, man. Unless you wanted to Magic Find, then it's not so great.
Yeah.
Or if you're only like playing with 4 friends at a time, then it's pretty bad. But other than that, great.
Yeah.
It's fun. Also, like the great thing is also just the positivity is back. It was so exhausting in the last league, and it's still some of it persists. But there's just this long-lasting negativity, and like almost every long stream that you do at some point devolving into an argument about the vision and the direction of PoE and how the game's not gonna last until PoE 2 comes out and dead game on arrival and all that. This gloom and doom is very
Yeah, that shit sucks.
it drags you down, right? And now it's not there. Like a lot of people who quit last league are back in my guild, and we're farming, we're increasing our wealth, helping each other out, and it's a great feeling. And I actually, I have to say, I really like playing software trade after, you know, going into it like just for the group experience 2 leagues ago, and now doing it again. I'm really enjoying my time. It's great also with the Sanctum League and all that. And I mean, I can always play hardcore later and do like a HCSSF start at some point. I'm
I
having
do
a
have to
blast.
say though, the league is like one that ramps, right? Like if you're like just starting out right now and you're like, man, this isn't as good as everyone's saying. It's because Sanctum's only fun after you get some power and you get the relics. And you know, like the new crazy builds, they're all kind of like at the end, right? Where all of the new uniques and stuff like that are, or when you get a sanctified relic. It kind of it's gonna ramp, right? It's the league is gonna grow on you, so the more you play, the more fun it gets. So I hope people get to the good stuff, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. I've seen some people drop out early because they're like, league's not for me. I'm coming back 321. And I feel like a lot of those people would have enjoyed the league more if they gave it a little bit more time.
Maybe
But
they'll
that's
come
also
back.
it's also kind of, and I think that's like probably the biggest piece of criticism that I could target at GGG for this league is like, why the hell are they doing an experimental ass league like this after last league's fallout with the community? I was expecting this is going to be a crowd pleaser league. They're going to just do like an in-map mechanic, just like Sentinel, give people additional monsters, additional rewards, let them enjoy the reworked Atlas tree, and just do something that's a sure shot. And holy shit, I give them props. Like, I love it that they did this experimental stuff. But this could have turned out to be Heist 2.0, right? This could have been like a fiasco, this
The
Sanctum
thing is, man, like that's not actually how it works. So they didn't know like if Calandra was gonna fail so hard when they were making it, right? And they started making Sanctum before they knew that like a Calandra failed. Like it's like a
They're always one
development
step
thing, right?
ahead.
Yeah, so they had already probably made the decision that it was gonna be a roguelike before Calandra even flopped the way it did.
Yeah.
That's fair, yeah.
The fastest reaction that they could have to a league that went that poorly would be next league, right?
Yeah.
Like,
now, don't get me
luckily,
wrong,
this one's good. So
I'm pretty sure they did some funny business actually with the tree specifically at the last hour, because I saw the tree in the trailer and I'm almost certain all of the nodes were just percentage chance to get a mechanic. Either that or they were like, didn't have the art assets or something like that. And then they like, suddenly all the nodes do crazy stuff and the Alice passive tree is very late. So I think that they, you know, put an all-nighter at the last hour to make it actually good.
That sounds like a reasonable assumption. Without any insider information.
Have you noticed? Look at the growing horde thing. It says rusted scarabs 5%, polished scarabs 10%, gilded 15, winged 20.
It's different, right?
It got patched.
yeah,
3 days
it
ago.
was 5, 7, 10, 15.
Yeah, but it doesn't actually give you these values in game. It still gives you
it
5,
gives you the
7,
5.
10.
Oh no!
Oh, interesting.
What is that
That's
about?
interesting. So which one's right, I wonder? Do you reckon they're gonna nerf it? The
Well, it
tooltip?
doesn't matter because it doesn't matter because you get 5, 7. It's just a tooltip
Well, it's
error, right?
already is the lower level one.
They never
Right,
buffed it, so
Yeah.
Maybe they will buff it though. Woohoo. Yeah. I think overall game's in a good place.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for people who say that the game is going downhill or anything, because if I just
don't
look
worry
into
about
my
it,
heart, like if I compare the game to just like a year ago, it's way better than it was a year ago. Like maybe there's some leagues that stand out where you have fond memories because either they were very rewarding or you had like great personal success. But if you went back now to playing those leagues and the state of the game back then, within 10 minutes you'd have a whole host, an entire list of things where you're like, oh, I missed this, I missed this, I missed this, that we have in the current version of the game. There's so many insanely good additions, quality of life additions, content and stuff. Yeah.
The only thing which needs to be maybe like looked at a little bit more is crafting. That is still a bit of a sore spot, but yeah. They've introduced some stuff, but it's all super high end. Like there's like a new beast which lets you mess with the mods a lot. But you know, it's like it's still super expensive. Like we're talking divines per attempt. So I think they need to do a little bit more with crafting. And the fracturing orb should have been way more common. I don't know what they were doing with that one.
Yeah, I got like 2 shards so far.
I think buff like bad skills too. Like skill balance is not good, honestly. Like what they did to spells was good, but they did a blanket like all spells are better. So like the spells that were good are better, and like the spells that are bad are still bad comparatively. If you know what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that I mean that's also a product of content creators honing in on only the best kind of thing. I think they're not as bad as people make them out to be. I think if you actually tried to play like, you know, Frostbolt Ice Over like Mathel does, you know, it would probably be okay. It's not S tier, but it's like probably like B tier, right? It's like fine.
It's not even about that. It's more maybe at that point it becomes more about like how it feels mechanically. Is it comfortable to play? Like people still play BV, but numbers wise, it's just awful, right?
Yes, there's a certain few skills which are mechanically overpowered, like Winter Orb, TS, BV, Venom Guy. You know, it's like okay, you know, you have to nerf them mechanically, which is what they did to LS, and then we complain because they nerfed them mechanically. It's like you really can't win any which way that you look at it. You basically have to make Heavy Strike hit the whole screen or something like that to make it fair, which you know they're not going to do.
Or you know, for example, like you can't really play spells unless you like why is mana the way it is, right? Like there's so many issues with certain archetypes in the game currently, which make it just impossible to play in comparison to something else.
Yeah, mana's a big problem. I actually use Life Tap on my League starter as a bow build. I don't think that should have to be the solution. That didn't feel that great.
Life Tap.
Like, this spell build, like imagine if your bow skill consumed 110 mana. Because that's exactly what spells do, right? Spells consume 100 mana. Like, how are you supposed to deal with that? And the only way to deal with it is EP, and that's why everyone's running EP. So, but what I suspect, what I'm afraid of is
like 90 something.
Right, it's insane.
Like it's impossible. It's EB. It has to be. It doesn't have a choice. I don't know how to get that much mana. Like I actually don't know how to get without going like Archmage level of investment.
After the nerf, the Enduring Flask is just unplayable, to be honest.
Yeah.
And what I'm afraid is that they'll just be like, "Oh, everybody's using BV. Everyone's using EB. Well, we're gonna nerf EB." You know, it's like, man. Yeah.
All right.
I just love to see a little bit more thought put into being into like certain skills being more mechanically viable or mechanically more better to play.
I guess that's a good segue. We talked about it last time where I was like, oh, I expected, you know, blah, 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 this or that mechanic. And then we'll probably get that for the Big Atlas expansion. And people pointed out correctly that GGG says they're not going to do Big Atlas endgame expansions anymore. So maybe they'll focus the expansion effort on like I mean, that's maybe wishful thinking, but maybe we get a big skill balance overhaul at some point in one of the next weeks. I mean, I wouldn't hold my breath for it, but if
PoE2. It's going to be PoE2 that you get that.
It is.
Not before PoE2?
Absolutely going to be PoE2.
PoE2. They might do some like 10%, 20% here, but if you want big spells, PoE2. Because the thing is, chat, when PoE2 comes out, they're rebalancing the way skill gem links and all the sockets and all the stuff like that works. They're just putting it off until then, I betcha.
Yeah, it makes sense. They have to balance around the new socket system. It's true. Right. Well, anything on the wish list still for the current league? Or do we do the shoutouts?
Good. I wish we could have seen more like sort of like build altering boons rather than it just being like you're stronger or whatever. It would have been cool to see like 3 projectiles, or as I said earlier, like life gain on hit or like resolve gain on hit, like things like that. I think that like when you encounter in like Hades, you're just like, holy shit, you know, like I got the thing, and then like you could have made like builds within the Sanctum. I would
resolve gain on hit seems like a nightmare to balance if you consider like the different skills and their hit frequencies.
Yeah, but why is that balance?
It doesn't need to be balanced. Yeah, it's not balanced right now.
Who gives a shit? Like,
You mean it's not balanced in the
roguelike.
regular game? Or
Like
you mean
roguelike-
Resolve is not balanced, period?
Yeah, I mean, like roguelikes are not about balance. It's about like you got the run and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's about
insane.
identifying the strong options here, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like you do a lot of runs in Hades where you're just like, this sucks, you know, and you don't actually go through with it unless you're like amazing at the game, which I'm not. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you just get a bad run, and it's when you do get a good run, it feels amazing. And I feel like they sort of like a little bit failed to capture that in a way because they didn't give like
It's
boons
there.
or debuffs that altered your character enough.
It's there. You just don't get the Giga Chad I'm crazy character kind of feeling. But it's basically like there's like a combo that you can get. You can get 50% reduced cost for the merchant on as like a boon, and then there's also a handshake which is 50% reduced cost for the merchant. So everything from the merchant is free. So when you roll up,
Right.
you just go brrr and buy it all, and then obviously like it's so free. You can't possibly lose
Right,
at that
it's
point.
reduced, not less. Pog.
Yeah, it stacks.
Okay, dude.
It becomes free, so it's like okay, dude. Yeah, it's basically a free win. But yeah, other than that, it's not like too many things like that. But yeah.
Well, if one thing happened, then this podcast has made me really hyped to do more sanctums and to find more relics and to finally beat that third floor and eventually the fourth one, despite playing with the obvious melee handicap.
Spread the word as well. Spread the word, dude. I feel like people don't know that it's fun and it's good. Like we need to spread the word.
People
Yeah,
have
definitely.
done like half a day's worth of them, but like the worst possible part where it
Yeah.
was miserable
Yep.
and your character was weak and you just got into maps and they're like, leave
For
me
sure.
Helix trash. Keep
Like-
doing it, I swear.
When I started the league, I remember exactly. I was like, people were like, "Oh, you're skipping it," but I wasn't like negative about it. I was more like, "Yeah, at the moment, my character sucks. Like, I'm not gonna like bang my head against the wall to like force this. So I'll just skip it, and I know like later on I'm gonna be able to give it a good chance with a good character. And that's exactly what I'm doing now, and I think it's gonna be a good time.
Someone
Yeah.
I'm
put that video out
being-
there, Bella, for sure. Like if there's
Oh,
a cheap
I'm
build
doing
people
that
can roll, which is
after
actually
here.
going to be able to smash the Sanctum, I think it's going to go a long way.
Tonight's video is just the showcase of the actual build I'm running. I think tomorrow maybe I want to try and put together like a budget version and see how it runs.
And when can
See
we
if I can get
expect
the thing running?
when can we expect the big comprehensive Forbidden Sanctum guide, Grimro?
Yeah, I mean it's on the cards, right? So the current timeline is I'm doing a walkthrough video of like me and my thought process in the Sanctum, so you can follow along with me. Then I'm gonna do one on relics, boons, and debuffs, and like which ones to take, which one not to, and then lastly it's gonna be the full, Monty. Like here's exactly everything you need to know, and the rewards and the testing and all sorts of stuff like that. And yeah, that's the plan. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff. One of the biggest mechanics they've released. It's up there with Heist in terms of complexity. So it's quite a lot goes into it.
Yeah, that's also one of its qualities. What
Yeah,
makes
I mean,
it so fun.
It's a big one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to run 32 rooms would be the best.
Yes.
The best thing for the
I think that
mechanic.
would,
Like doing it in one sitting, man, that would be so much fun.
yeah, they should probably change that.
Like for
Oh.
content as well. It's like I'm doing a run, boys. You go in, you're like,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah. Like yeah,
But
it's just so much more fun, right?
There is a
You get your
chance,
divine
right,
straight
that
away.
instead of getting rehashed races from last year's race events, maybe next year we get endless Forbidden Sanctum.
if it goes core, right?
Or also, if it
Yeah.
doesn't go core, I mean, there's the Descent races that had that weren't core content, but that existed. That'd be cool if that was like basically Descent Race 2.0 is Forbidden Sanctum endless.
I actually think the Forbidden Sanctum would actually be quite a good core mechanic. Actually, I think it would be quite a strong one. But I don't know how they would tune the sanctified
Yeah.
relics to facilitate that.
Well, they probably just
Yeah.
wouldn't have like the main relic that you can take everywhere, right? But you'd still have like the ones for the inside of the sanctum, I suppose.
I think that would probably make them weaker and tradable, right? The sanctified.
Yeah, makes sense. I think they would
Mm.
just remove them, to be honest. And it would still be
they have-
alright, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It'd
it
still
would
be
be
okay.
okay, but the sanctified relics really is like the calling card of the mechanic,
that's
right?
true. It's true.
Well, they
it's the
could
real,
do
it's the real big draw.
They could put some other like exclusive reward onto top of the Sanctum if it goes core and they don't want sanctified relics to be in the game. Like they could have a set of special uniques similar to the Aziri uniques or I don't know something that you can only get there.
They do. They just suck. There's like a helmet which makes your main hand weapon counter spell crit or something like that. So like you can strip it on and get 100% crit. And then there's the amulet, which Tuna thinks it's good, but I'm not losing my mind over it. It's an amulet and it's defensive, so it's like okay, hardcore players, okay.
It was like it enabled. Like I feel like it's an item that could enable certain mechanics, right? Like for example, like you'd be able to if you'd be able to like reduce the damage from like RF or something to like for it to not be, but it's bugged with RF, so. It doesn't work. Yeah. So I mean, there's kind of some issues with it right now. I hope they fix them.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit too early to be talking about it going core. I'm sure you'll cover that later on other podcasts.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about it. It's like a thought experiment. If it were core, would it be a good thing? And I just think at the current, like, if the spawn rate that we have now divided by 10, how long would it take to save up an entire Sanctum?
They should probably just remove lab, make it so that everyone gets their ascendancies through something else, and Sanctum should be the new way to get helmet chance. That's probably the best way to do it. I think that would be more fun, cool. But
Yeah, Forbidden Sanctum PoE2 lab.
but I'm sure the labbers are now just printing out pictures of Grimro and putting it on the wall and getting the darts ready because they love lab, right? Yeah, that is what it is, right?
Lab runners will love Sanctum just as much.
Yeah, honestly, I think they would, but
Yeah.
PoEsanctum.com. Yeah. Great. Tuna, what's your upcoming content? We're already all hyped for Grimro's guide, so that we all understand how to do the Sanctum. We're hyped for Balor's Poison SOS, so we all have a budget build with which we can cheese the mechanic. What are you going to bring us?
Farming strats and poison spark.
Farming strats build. I'm really hoping they bring out 32 rooms so I can just upload runs to YouTube. I think that'd be cool content. I don't know. I think that'd be fun.
Full runs.
Yeah, like a full run.
Yo, I'd watch full runs on YouTube.
Dude, watch my. It's coming out. It's walkthrough run, dude. Watch it. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, or like stuff like that would be fun. It's like just cool to watch. Yeah, I mean,
the thing is, I don't know if this is actually the case, but if you wanted to really get crazy with that shit, bro, the unique ones, they don't say you can only use one. So you can literally take all your relics out, put all of the unique relics in, and do like the Giga Chad run.
That'd be pretty cool.
Iron Man Sanctum.
That's gonna be someone
cannot gain resolve, cannot gain Oreo coins, no merchants.
Nothing, dude. Ain't nothing. Yeah, that'd be badass.
Yeah, get ruthless. Fucked Sanctum.
In Ruthless, yeah.
I'm actually I'm looking forward to playing Ruthless. That's a good one to close with. It's Grim. Have you played any Ruthless? Have you any intentions of playing Ruthless?
Oh man, why are you asking me that, dude?
I'm curious because it came up first. To be fair, it came up first in a podcast that had you on, right? That was the first time we heard of Ruthless.
Look, man, that mode is not for me, dude. It's like the antithesis of what I stand for. So, no, thank you. It's like, I think it's good for the people who enjoy it, and it's tailored for them, and that's good. Not for me though.
Right.
I'm on the same boat, to be honest.
Okay, so no hype for Ruthless. What about you, Balor? You played a little bit, right?
No.
Also, okay. I'll keep the topic for the future guests. I can already see no Ruthless enthusiasts here.
I'm glad it exists. Some people are having a lot of fun with it. It's not for me.
Exactly. It's for the people who enjoy it, and I think that's really good for them. And I think it's a great addition. But not for everyone.
It's a great addition, and I think everyone should give it a go because I've heard from a lot of people that they enjoyed it more than they expected.
Can't make me.
No, I'm not making you. I'm just saying you should make yourself eventually, right? There's a time and place for everything, and there's always this awkward last like 2 or 3 weeks of the league where some people venture into other games, and you probably may still, but one day you may think, I'm not really feeling the other. Let's try some Ruthless, and then maybe you like it.
Oh man, I got an analogy for you here, Catmaster. So all right, so there's different tiers of gameplay. So at peak softcore, you're basically driving a Formula One car, right? And it's like, and then in Ruthless, you're like on a scooter, and you're like having you're like on the scooter, dude. You're like going around the racetrack. That's like, I mean, which one's gonna be more fun, man? I'm gonna take the Formula One car.
Except one of the wheels on my scooter is actually just a roll of tape with a bar through it.
Yeah, man. It's like, I don't know, dude. It's not for me.
Sure. I don't know. I just feel like even a civilization who has access to orbital space weapons will every now and then enjoy a good fight with a wooden sword. That's all I'm gonna say. Right. So that's that. We did shout out in chat, right? Like, I don't think we want to hit the 3-hour mark. We've tried hard to go as long as we had things to talk about, but I think we've pre-podcast agreed to only do 2 hours, and now everyone's been sitting here for 3. So I want to thank you all for bringing your time. Guys, check out these wonderful broadcasters, Guide from Grimro, Farming from Tuna, Cheese from Balor, and I'll just do what I do best, and that's keep on dying, and eventually I'll give you another speed leveling video or something like that, where I'll tell you how to utilize Armor Brand Cremation to get your character into maps in like 5-ish hours, even if you're a noob. And maybe I'll make a video about my Blade Flurry Slayer if it turns out to actually do some endgame content and maybe even beat the Sanctum eventually. That'd be good, because I'd really want that build to be shaped up and to be juicy, but it just feels like Blade Flurry doesn't have what it needs to be a good attack skill.
No, keep trying things. You never know. POB isn't everything.
True that. Anyway, thanks everyone for staying for so long. If you came here from the raids, thanks everyone for checking out the podcast. Thanks for listening. You'll find the entire podcast uploaded on YouTube and the various podcasting platforms. If you've been supporting the stream in the recent time, then your name will be on the stream. And we'll see you for the next Fated Connections. Fated.fyi/next will show you a countdown timer for the Fated Connections on Wednesday, 9 p.m. GMT. If you want to know who's going to be guests, stay in touch via Twitter or check into the podcast. I'll announce that in the next couple days when we figured it all out. I'm currently talking to a number of people. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful experience. You beat some Sanctums and get some mad currencies. And we'll see you for the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bless.